guy Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Two.
Down a bit.
Two.
That's good. What's up, folks? Hello. There is the Lady of Irons captain, manager of democracy, leader of men. That was a good run last night. We were in the shit. We were in this shit all day yesterday. I'm obsessed with Helldivers 2 in a way that I have not been obsessed with a game for quite some time. The only game I've really been playing over the last year and a half or so is Fortnite. And I like Fortnite a lot. But when I log on to Fortnite, I'm playing one game, two drops, maybe 3. It gets to about 45 minutes and I'm like, I'm good. Okay, good. I'm done. Time to move on. Yeah, Helldivers 2. It's like I put in some serious time yesterday. I put in some serious time. Today could be a strange one. We got Twitch's servers being weird. That's not good. Well, we'll see how it goes. After last night, it's clear that I'm going to play a lot more, and B, I'm going to manage it so I don't play too much. Couldn't believe it was midnight last night all of a sudden. It's those campaigns go on for like an hour to do the 2 missions. If you do the 2 missions like on one planet,
you can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You're taking time to knock out all the other outposts and whatever. You're talking about an hour.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Life gives you Lennon. Wow. Thanks for the tier 1 sub. Brand new community member. Life gives you Lennon. Look at that guy. Look who that is. Look at that dude. That's my dude. Ben, thank you as well for 17 months. Tier 1. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Oh. Love and solidarity from Toronto College technician student. Well, thank you, Liz. Right back at you. Right back at you. Yeah, that's the thing, Diego. Like we're doing the ironic, satirical Helldivers roleplay. You hate to think of people doing it, taking it seriously. It's really amazing that like people still misunderstand it. Like Verhoeven is the least subtle filmmaker. He's the least subtle filmmaker, I think, maybe ever. Like Verhoeven does everything, but like put himself on camera and just say like, "This is satire." By the way, hello, I'm Paul Verhoeven. He shows up 45 minutes into the movie. Hello, I'm Paul Verhoeven. This is just to let you know that you're watching satire right now. It's not a movie about how the cops are good. It's not a movie about how the space fascists are good. This is what it is. That would be the last step. But people still don't see. People somehow misunderstand Verhoeven. It's really amazing. I think there's something that the IQ levels are dropping. People are just getting dumber and crazier. He says we're being ironic, but he forced us all at gunpoint to salute the nuke as it came out of the ground. That's cool, though. It's cool to do that. It was really cool too. Yesterday we got Ugopnik playing as well. Ugopnik joined the squad. That was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to squadding up with him again. Marty, I'm getting really into the whole like role play aspect of it. Seriously, I'm getting really into the getting in character. It's so fun for me. Honestly, it's really letting me live out in a way that a game has never done before. It's letting me live out like when I was a little kid and I would watch Aliens and stuff, and I would have my like fake guns or whatever I had, and I would it's letting me live that out as an adult. It's really cool, seriously. Like I'm super into it. I put in some time this morning already. I put in about an hour and a half this morning before getting started here, after doing my morning stuff, my morning routine. Helldivers is that you are not immune to propaganda, but in reverse. Some people, in fact, are immune to propaganda when it's presented as satire. Yeah, that's true. We're in this community, Leninade. We're We are immune to propaganda, but for real, though. But for real. A lot of people are not, but we are, though, for reals. We're the exception. Lodane, I think you might need to get in on this. Because Lodane, I know you were into some of that stuff as well. I think you got to join the squad as well. We need more reinforcements. We need more reinforcements at Malevelon Creek. I've been seeing our boys getting ripped limb from limb at Malevelon Creek. The waves of bots. We're still just getting our asses kicked in this system, and we need all hands on deck here. We need all hands on deck to push back against the automaton menace. The waves of bots and relentless friendly fire. Listen, Dimitri. Listen. That was the mortar launcher, all right? That mortar sentry. That's not on me. You got to get out of the way of it. Anyway, that was some good. I think I somewhat regretted because I did a solid 3 hours of streaming Helldivers 2 yesterday. Then the game and Streamlabs crashed at the end of the session, and then we did another 2 hours or so later, and I kind of regret not streaming that just because it's so cinematic and cool that I just like having for posterity. I like having it because it's so cool to watch, and it's fun doing the bits, getting in character and doing the bits. You think they can just give a couple of the nerds some guns? Seriously. If they can't defend themselves, what are they doing out there, you know? My sympathy is low for some of those nerds. We almost extracted those nerds yesterday too. That was rough. Man, yeah, I'm already looking forward to playing more. I think I'm going to play more and stream more later. The drop ship lands on Marty. That was rough. No, we got it done, PM Trio, which was very satisfying when we actually did that. It was very, very satisfying when we were able to complete that one. But then we went back, and we came close, but we didn't quite do it. We came close. We extracted like 20 nerds, and then we got overrun. What else? I had a nice day actually yesterday. You know, Sundays are kind of my day off. And it was really nice. You ever make yourself like 3 really nice meals? You make yourself a nice breakfast, a nice lunch, and a nice dinner. It's really satisfying. It's a lot of dishes and stuff, but like that's what I did yesterday, and it was quite nice. And I went out on Saturday night with my friend Nicole, who I've known for many years. How big are the squads? It's four people. Haven't had 3 meals in a day for 10 years. You got to take care of yourself, Trio. You got to take care of yourself. I went out on Saturday with my friend Nicole. I'd been doing a lot of parenting, and I had a night off of parenting, so I was like, I would kind of like to have a few drinks, maybe. So did that. Hung out with Nicole. That was cool. Nicole, she's from my hometown. I've known her for many, many years. We had a nice evening, eating some good food and having a few drinks. So on Sunday, I was a little like, you know, a little tired, a little hungover a little bit. And really had I really had a lovely day. I had a honey bun and coffee. I mean, okay, so that was one of my 3 meals, to be clear, that I made. One was just a honey bun, which I put in the microwave for 30 seconds and ate with my coffee. But that's a fantastic, that's one of my favorite things to eat for breakfast. It might be my favorite thing to eat for breakfast. And then made some really good ramen. No, Marty, it turns it into, it's super mushy. Makes it super mushy. Made a really nice ramen for lunch. And I made a really good chicken sandwich, actually, when I got home from going out. I made it I just actually remembered that. I kind of drunkenly made myself like this really good chicken sandwich at night. So then at lunchtime, made a really good ramen. And then like just last night, in between Helldivers sessions, made this really good meal as well. Like chicken thighs and Chinese broccoli and carrots and this I made this really good sauce. I'm getting the proportions down with the kind of vaguely Chinese sauce that I've been making. And sometimes I forget to put the cornstarch mixture. You make a little cornstarch and water mixture, and you put that on there, and it just elevates it thickens up the slurry. Yes, sometimes I don't take the time to do that, but whenever I do, I'm like, God damn! It makes the vegetables really good. It makes that sauce all kind of thick. Had that with some rice. Fuck, it was really good. Seriously. And then I put in some time in the bot war as well. So it was a solid day.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thick sauce AO, Lucid Lude.
Doc Not So Strange, thanks for the 10 months. Tier 1. That's right, I was slurping down some thick sauce. It's true, Leninade. You gotta get a good sauce. It really elevates whatever you're doing. For sure. Yeah, Bonbon, it's really good. It's really good to do that. If you just take the time to add the slurry, it just really does elevate everything. This apple's very bruised. I don't know about this. So that was my weekend, though. Oh, and I just spent a lot of time hanging out with my son, obviously. Friday and Saturday. It sounds great, Loden. Sounds very nice. No, we're not going to die. You covered all the food groups and some vitamin gummies. Look at you. Sorry, Mrs. Healthy. Vitamin gummies? I really want to like. Okay, so my son wanted to make. He told me I wanted to like play like a spy action game or something. Vitamin gummies and an iron pill or girl breakfast. Yeah, girl breakfast, or if you're living in like an apocalypse bunker, fallout shelter. So, but then I kind of got some ideas because he wanted to play like a spy cop action game or something with me, and I was like, all right, I'm going to take the time to get into this role play with him. But then like I had this idea to like make one of those sort of like a poster for like a 90s or 80s action movie, like a buddy cop movie, because he got it in his head. He wanted his character was Darvin Andrew Steele. I don't know how he came up with that, but that's who he wanted to name his guy, Darvin Andrew Steele. And then he asked me what my name was going to be, and I said Jack Magnum. So then I like photoshopped this poster of us doing like a cool action movie pose for a movie called Magnum Steel. And I made a whole poster for it, and I would like to show it to you, but I put his whole name on it, and I'm a little leery about like sharing that. I'm a little leery about sharing it, not because of anyone in the community is going to be weird about it, but you never know who's going to be watching or whatever. But I made a whole poster, and it's so funny. It's really good. So that's what I was doing a lot of the early part of Saturday. I was spending time doing that. I mean, that story's not that interesting when I can't show you the poster that I'm talking about. I wonder if I could make one without. It's for sure not still open. I don't think it's going to work. You're just going to have to trust me that it's very funny, okay? Attention everyone, if you are not gay, do not want to be gay, regardless of your gender, do not view the Kristen Stewart Rolling Stone photo shoot because holy shit, it did make me gay, I gotta say. That wasn't my intention, but I did become gay. Gayer. when I did see that. Like, definitely more gay than I was previously. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was 0% gay. I don't think I'm a high percentage of gayness, but the percentage definitely increased. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. We don't need to get into the specifics of what the percentage is. We don't need to get into the specifics. We can just say that the percentage increased a little bit. the gayish to gayer pipeline, exactly. Is it official at this point that the projection from right-wingers is just sad? I mean, it would be, like, sad if they weren't, like, actively harming people, you know? It is funny, like, the whole thing of, like, they show, like, Kristen Stewart and Cillian Murphy, they're like, oh, we feminize the masculine, and we make the feminine masculine and make the masculine feminine. And it's just like, have you not been paying attention to culture ever? Like, that's the weird, that is the weird thing. These people acting like people being like androgynous or playing around with gender is some like new phenomenon that began in 2014. Like, that is crazy to me. Yeah, and they post pictures of them and they both look fucking really good. Yeah, and she's half naked, and they're freaking out about like a jock NFL player and the blonde, blue-eyed pop starlet. They're like, no, this is actually gay. This is actually gay and satanic. It's like fucking weird. These people's head would explode if they watched Labyrinth. Like, the whole like, what the fuck do you think was going on in the 80s? The same people are like, we must return. We must return. Like, you don't think anyone was playing around with gender in the 80s? No? Really? Or the 70s? Or the 60s? Like, what the fuck? Like, I feel like they were doing more gender stuff in the 80s than they're doing now. And that was like, these are like the glam rock hair bands. These were like the paragons of masculinity. They were playing around with gender even more than what's going on now. Even some of these people are like, with wokeness how it is nowadays. Like, even some of the very same people that were doing that in the 80s. That's how fucking weird it is. The guy from Twisted Sister. Whoever. So I don't know. These people are strange to me. They think this shit just started. Did they just fall off a coconut tree? Did these people just fall off a coconut tree? Or do they exist in the context of all the time that took place before? Something to think about. Some of these people do act like they just fell out. They sound like not only did they fall out of a coconut tree, but they got bonked in the head as well. With the coconut. And it gave them a concussion. That's what it seems like to me. It's got them mixed all up. It's okay. I saw Mars Attacks discourse being about militarism over leftists, which is the choice. I like what these people should just not be watching movies. Like, I genuinely don't understand what these people, what their views on art and what it is. A lot of these same people too are looking at like the AI video stuff. And listen, I haven't been as down on some of that technology as others are. I think there's cool things about that technology. I think it's going to have cool applications. But people are really like, they're not even going to make movies anymore. You can just say like, Netflix, show me a new season of Cheers. But Ted Danson is played by fucking Timothy Chalamet. And all the rest of the cast are Muppets. And they think that there's a computer that's just going to spit out the show that you want to see. And that no one will watch the same thing. Everyone will just watch whatever weird, wacky ideas they have. Some computer is going to just make it for them. But like, why would you want that? I'd say make your own movies, but they do make their own movies and they suck ass. Exactly. This is the movies that air in the Daily Wire network. I would actually... Dude, that was a bad example. That was a bad example because that sounds really good, actually. But that's because I'm actually a creative person. That's the thing. That was just like thinking up like, you know, something just on the spot. I'm actually a creative person that has interesting ideas, and these people are not. So. Bert and Ernie being Norman Cliff. But that's such a weird way to approach art. I find that so weird. Just give me everything that I want. I mean, it's funny too, because like these are these like conservative sort of reactionary people, but then there's like the people that as well that are not even like part of that political persuasion, but they're like, anytime that I'm challenged in any way, when there's not an ending that makes me feel good and happy, when characters do bad things that I don't understand and don't agree with, you know, they're like, no, I don't want any of that. It's just a weird way of looking at art, I think. I don't totally get it. And my mullet's looking really crazy today, actually. Obviously Norman Cliff would be Statler and Waldorf. That would be good as well. Ernie would maybe be Woody. Pim Tool's take on Case 2. I hate just Tim Pool. Oh, I can't look at that tweet because Tim Pool blocked me. Tim Pool, like, talking about women's appearances and like manosphere stuff, and I wouldn't be attracted to that. I wouldn't fuck that. Like, Tim Pool of all people. That is strange to me. Who's watching that being like, this is the man that I want to listen to about what is and is not attractive? Oh, Tim Pool wouldn't. I'm sure Kristen Stewart's devastated that Tim Pool doesn't approve. That Tim Pool does not approve of her fashion and aesthetic choices. What will Kristen Stewart do? She's lost the approval of Tim Pool now. Fuck. Tim Pool would not fuck Kristen Stewart. I'm sure she's going to be devastated. When someone says something so context-phobic, you got to hit him with that coconut stare. Yeah. What the fuck? Oh, excuse me for mischaracterizing Tim's statement here. No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. I'm sure she's nice. I got no beef. Oh, thanks, Tim. Excuse me. I'm sure Kristen will be relieved that you have no beef. My opinion is that she gave up. She no longer cares about her appearance and probably would agree. And first of all, this is like one picture from a interview she's doing. When she's like in the middle of saying something. One image that's like, where yet she no longer looks like someone in her early 20s because she's not in her early 20s. Yeah, and she looks fine. She just looks like a normal person. Actually, she looks very good. I mean, she's a very successful Hollywood actress. Yeah, he no longer cares about her appearance. But what that means is she's no longer interested in like projecting a certain style or image of femininity that appeals to Tim Pool. Who's going to Tim Pool for this kind of advice? Yeah, it's coming from like a man that never takes off his beanie. Yeah, has he given up? Has he given up? He's been wearing the same fucking hat for like 7 years straight. All these guys do the 25 hit the wall, assuming that some 21-year-old wants Pim Tool. Yeah. I'm sure she would just be thrilled to go on a date with Tim Pool. Wild. When I see Tim, I do the bit from Kill Bill Volume 2. That hat. That fucking hat. How many times have I told you? Leave that shit kicker hat at home. But the YouTube viewers like it. I'm not the boss of the YouTube viewers. I'm the boss of you. He has a closet full of beanies. He must have a bunch of them. I wonder if he just has the bunch of the same one. Do you think there's an evil Voldemort face behind Tim Pool's beanie that tells him to tweet misogynistic shit? No, he's just bald. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being bald. Okay? I have nothing but love and support for our bald kings out there. Tim should just embrace that. You know, I've seen him without the beanie. He looks fine. You know? He looks totally fine. If he just took off the fucking beanie and accepted the fact that he was bald, no one would care. Tim, you look fine, buddy. You know? I don't know if you're going to see this, because you blocked me because I pointed out that you like to spend time hanging out with neo-Nazis. But just take it off, okay? It's okay to be bald. There's nothing wrong with being bald. Nothing wrong with it at all. I have at least 8 beanies and don't wear them as often as he does, and I'm balding too. I have a hard... Sometimes I wear... As you know, sometimes I wear like toques, you know, especially when my hair starts getting under. I have a hard time wearing it as like a fashion thing. I think my head's just too big. I think my head's too big. Don't you get hot inside? I mean, I guess so, but I like my head being warm though, you know? I like to have a warm head. All right? I like a slouch beanie. I'm a hipster from 2005. The thing is, I've always kind of wanted one of those, David, and I've never been able to, like, I don't know, if they don't fit on my head right, I can't wear them like that. It doesn't work. They are awesome. That's totally a cool thing to be able to wear. I only wear sideways baseball caps. There we go. There we go, Michelle. That's the look. He's got the look. Oh, what else do we got? What else do we got before we get into serious discourse? That sounds good, Marty. We can start a Helldivers thread. I am going to stream that more later. I'm going to put in my normal amount of time here doing the show, but I am going to be doing another Helldivers session tonight. I got nothing going on tonight, so I'm gonna dive right back into the shit. If anyone wants to squat up. I played a couple missions this morning, Red Wizard. Doing the I don't care here that only took about 3 hours to perfect. I will say for myself, I really do the I don't care. Like I have I don't care hair, and I really spend not a lot of time on it to get to that point. I do not do a lot of stuff with my hair.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
How can Starship Troopers be pro-fascist? The cities are so beautiful and their outfits are so clean.
Lucid, thank you so much for 25 months of Tier 1. That's so kind of you. It's a great question. Why are all these white people living in South America? I don't know. Who cares? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about why all these white people are living there. Are living in Argentina specifically. Yes. Don't look at Neil Patrick Harris's outfit at the end, by the way. Don't look at it's just it's fine to wear a big black leather trench coat. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good look. Argentina's pretty white, yes, but these are like English-speaking American Argentinians. So jackboots are fascist now. Yeah, this is it. This is what I was saying before, Lucid. Like Verhoeven, he's the world's least subtle filmmaker. It's amazing that people have such a hard time with this. I don't want to do the whole. Well, I guess I could do the bit again, but I was just saying like the only way that Verhoeven could be more subtle is if he came out midway through the movie and was like, "Hello, it's me, Paul Verhoeven. This is satire, just to be clear. Just to be clear with what you're looking at here. That's the only way that it could be more obvious, but people are still like, no, I don't think so. Nope. I'm just going to play this 100% straight. Just to be clear, this guy in the Nazi hat and outfit is a Nazi. Just so that's 100% clear with you. Or like the RoboCop thing. This is not a movie about how cops are good. No, actually, I like this too much to be satire. Just to be clear, we're losing this war badly and probably attacked our own planet. At the bare minimum, we took a natural disaster and turned it into 9/11 too, so we can justify the war effort. And this movie came out 4 years before 9/11, actually, by the way, which shows how fucking prescient. Prescient. How do you say that word? Prescient. Prescient. Anyway, he's the man. That's why Verhoeven is the man. The thing I'm taking away from RoboCop is that Dick Jones is a powerful and confident businessman. Private industry is good. Exactly. They're doing a better job than the publicly funded police department. Look at the kind of fantastic toys they're putting together there. I'd buy that for $1. Sounds like they got inflation under control. Yeah. They got cool cars to choose from. what I took from RoboCop 3 is that cops need jetpacks. That I actually would support. Even though we're already giving cops so many multi-billion-dollar toys, I just feel like the possibility of that going wrong for some of these guys would be enough that I think we should actually support giving cops jetpacks. Did y'all see the Acorn Cop? The Acorn Cop thing is insane. I think the only surprising thing about the Acorn Cop is that they did actually lose their job. I think that's the only incredible thing, that they didn't like double up the charges on the guy in the car because cops got scared when he was just sitting there after already being subdued. You think he just fell out of an oak tree? Yeah, both cops just mag dumping in their own squad car, and he was doing the sideways too. It's like, what are these fucking guys? They think they're in a movie, honestly. He was doing the sideways, shooting at his own car. He resigned means he can still get a job with another precinct. Oh yeah, and I'm sure he will as well. Absolutely insane. He was playing Time Crisis. What the fuck's with these people? Like, I swear to God, like these people, cops, the people that sign up to be cops, are just like, what do they go through? How do they make it to adulthood? Like, these are just they're terrified of their own shadow. It's crazy to me, honestly. How do you go through life like that? You joke, I want that guy and my son were playing Buck Hunter at the arcade. The Acorn is filled with fentanyl. That's right, yeah. The woman who immediately opened fire when the guy said he was shot wasn't disciplined, even though she just opened fire on a residential street and then asked, where is he? Yeah. He just sees the one cop shooting at his own car. She's like, there's my sign to just unload onto this car. It's trained into them. Well, yeah, I guess that's part of it. The whole like go home alive thing, the whole like kind of cop mentality. Getting home alive is the most important thing. So if at any point you feel that's in jeopardy whatsoever, immediately escalate to lethal violence. Immediately turn into Judge Dredd. The moment you even suspect that it's possible that you might be harmed in any way. Why are you signing up to be a cop if that's your mentality? You know what I mean? I thought this shit was supposed to be dangerous. If you're that scared, just don't be a cop. Like, sell ice cream out of an ice cream truck or something. Which is probably a more dangerous job than actually being a cop. It's because they employ a bunch of Iraq vets with PTSD. Yet that's probably part of it as well. And it's a good thing that these people take, like, 50, 60% of every single city budget in every city center across North America. No, that's great. That's good. Nothing else we could be spending that money on. Let's get some more lethal toys for these perpetually terrified, angry sociopaths. Who needs schools? Who needs them? Housing? Who needs them? Have you actually, Michelle? I just watched that a few days ago. I saw it on Precinct 13. That part is very shocking too, with the little girl and everything. Yeah, that cop was not in Iraq. Yeah, that's right. I know that is a problem, but like that was not the particular problem in that case, though. We might as well just look at it while we're talking about it, right? This is really insane. Like this is an absolutely insane clip. When I watch it, I can't even hear the sound that he's reacting to either.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! You know. I'm hit!
You're not hit, sir.
What?
I'm bleeding out. I'm hit. You're not hit, sir.
I was shot through the car.
You're not shot. That's not true. Medic! Look at him. What the fuck? What is wrong with these people? What happened? No, and Michelle, apparently, it was an acorn fell out of the tree and hit the car next to him, and he thought the sound of the acorn hitting the police car was a shot, and that's how he reacted. I've been only 2 days away from retirement. I just got one thing you got to do. Get Mendoza. A man a man who's in cuffs in the car. And he's crawling around like he's shot.
I'm good. I feel weird, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm actually not shot. How do you recover from that? I feel weird, but I'm good. Yeah, why is it these are the people that we're giving lethal weapons to? And just like, yeah, anytime you feel remotely threatened, just make sure you take that out and just start blasting. Whom amongst us hasn't unloaded a clip at a car? Yeah, give this man qualified immunity, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing that no one was killed here, Zades. Somehow, miraculously, they avoided hitting or murdering someone in this case. That's got to be embarrassing, too, when you go, I'm hit, and then it's like, oh, actually, I'm not. Actually, I'm not, and not only am I not hit, but no one even fired a bullet, except me.
I don't know.
They're screaming at people coming to their homes, probably.
I might have hit my vest.
Screaming at people who are concerned about maybe the fact that there's all of a sudden a violent shootout going on in their streets between a cop and a tree that he was frightened by. Trees are very deadly. He could have gotten poison oak from that.
Stay inside your house.
He would have been very
stay inside
itchy.
your house.
Stay in your house, man. I'm engaging. I'm tactically engaging. in a law enforcement operation, ma'am.
Stop right there.
Not that body cams actually stop them from being corrupt and murderous, but can you imagine how many scenarios like this happened without their own body cams to prove they were in the wrong? That is true, yeah. But as way like it's been the idea that body cams were going to stop police violence, I think, has been proven to be totally incorrect by this point as well. Especially when they can seem to control when the cameras are on or when they're off, and there's no there's no independent source that's like looking at this data. They control that. That was a California Live Oak. I could have dropped a branch maybe. And what then? And what then? Judges just side with cops anyway, even when they have a body cam that records them just murdering someone, an unarmed person, as we've seen multiple times. We've seen multiple examples of body cam footage capturing a police shooting, and just nothing comes of it. It just gets ruled to be justified. And like we were saying, this guy was so fucking embarrassed by this that he ended up resigning, and he's still going to be able to work as a cop. He's not even muttering fuck under his breath like he knows he screwed up. I want to see the reaction when he's told it was an acorn. No, he still thinks someone shot at him.
It might have hit my vest. I don't know. But I'm not.
Might hit my vest. What the fuck is wrong with these people? And like, this is the thing. Like, we're talking about Verhoeven and fascism, and people are like, no, it's not fascist. What are you talking about? And the same people say, America's not fascist. What are you talking about? I can vote. I have free speech. I can go to McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and Jack in the Box and Whataburger and In-N-Out and like whatever else. You know, I can like 50,000 different kinds of breakfast cereal and 50,000 different kinds of toothpaste. Of course it's not fascist. Meanwhile, you have these people. These are the people you have running around. These heavily armed, militarized psychopaths running around every single neighborhood in the country, often just executing people in the street, which happens thousands of times every single year in the United States, which has just happened more and more and more every single year, even when the people are in power, like, we need to do something about this problem. They give them more money, and it's happening even more. America's no. How could America be fascist? The problem is the cops just don't have enough money. They got defunded by all the woke like Democrats. If they could have trained this guy more, he would be fine. This never would have happened.
Jesse, come back. Mark vehicle right there. Dude, am I hit? Come on.
Am I hit? God damn. What is wrong with these fucking people? They're giving it the Zapruder treatment now.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Oh.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
The roll and the sideways.
Shots fired!
He thinks he's in a fucking Steven Seagal movie or something.
Jesse, are you okay? Get out!
I'm good. I feel weird, but I'm good. I might have hit my vest. I don't know. It felt like it. Do you see anything on my vest? Where are you feeling? Did you feel anything? My legs went numb when it hit me. All right. I don't know. My legs went numb for a second. I heard a pop come from.
What the fuck is the matter with these people? My legs went numb. Jesus Christ. And again, like, we joke around, but it's the exact. This is how TRRS gets killed. Oh, sorry. TRRS was the guy that was shot by George Zimmerman. I'm so sorry because I'm confused. There's been so many people that have been murdered by the police in high-profile cases. Oh, was I right about that? Okay, I was. Excuse me. Like, again, that's like I should. Like, again, that's like it. Sorry, I should. Fuck. Like, again, Jesus. Sorry. Again, like, I should know better about this, but there's so many cases of high-profile cases of little kids being shot like that it's like I lose track of how many. But my point is, though, it's the exact mentality. It's the exact mentality. I've seen the footage of that shooting. Little kid with a BB gun, and like, as extremely common thing. Little kids playing with toy guns. I mean, it's America. They've fetishized guns and weaponry. You encourage kids to like play with toy guns all the time, and it's the same mentality. They show up. I've watched the video and it's insane. Within 1 second of getting at the car, he's murdered. It's the exact same mentality. And it was Trayvon Martin who was killed by George Zimmerman. There's so many of these fucking cases that it's hard to keep track of them all. There's never a warning, there's never a gun, and there's never cause. Yeah, and PM Trio, like, think of all the cases as well where there is a gun or there is drugs or whatever's found that is like retroactively put there. You know? These are all just the things that we know about. How often is like a gun put on the ground, or the Chappelle joke? Let's sprinkle some crack on him. Let's get out of here. How many hundreds, thousands of deaths have been framed like that? Yeah, the Philandro Castile was horrendous as well. That is insane. The Acorn Cop is insane. But like, you know, we joke around, but that mentality is dangerous, and people get killed. Thousands of people get killed every year because of that exact mentality. Literally what the gun trace task force in Baltimore was doing, robbing people and then leaving guns and drugs to come back and bust them. I mean, like, this has been, and I'm sure what you're talking about, Baldwin's Ghost, is just standard operating procedure in most major American cities for decades. All the shit that we've learned about what the police department in Chicago is doing all those years, not only framing people for crimes, but torturing people, getting confessions out of them. Like in the shit that we know about, it's probably just barely scratching the surface. With any of these, with the Chicago Police Department, with the NYPD, Baltimore, barely scratching the surface of the level of violence and corruption, and just legalized extrajudicial murder. Yes, or when the Philly police dropped bombs on an entire neighborhood. But America's not fascist, though, right? You know what I mean? America's not fascist. I've never had a problem like that. America's not fascist. I can go out and into the street and carry around a sign and say, I don't like something. I don't like what the government's doing. I can go vote for two different parties. How could it be a fascist dictatorship? And like that's what's been going on in American streets for generations, going all the way back to the slave patrols. All the exact same tactics, all the exact same mentality. Yeah, the NYPD has a dance team. Like a higher budget with the NYPD than like most nations. Military budgets. This is what they're doing. You can protest, but also the feds are monitoring people at pro-Palestine rallies in Phoenix, so that's a thing now too. I'm sure, yeah, they're all getting monitored. All the Cop City stuff, all the Cop City protesters being, if not murdered themselves, just being raided and brought up on like counterterrorism charges. We have total free speech, though, total freedom of expression. Insane. In the logic of American democracy, both the Cop City protesters and Hamas are terrorists. Well, yeah, it's all linked, right? It's all linked. They're all pro-Hamas. It's all Hamas. Hey, ML Thoughtism, what's up? Antifa. They figured out a long time ago that if you uphold a base level of liberal freedoms, they can pretty much propagandize you and make you numb and ignorant to everything else. Yeah, or I mean, even if you're not numb and ignorant, make people think that like that's good. That's what makes you free, is to have cops have the ability to do that. And then in fact, cops are being held back. They're not being allowed to be violent enough. All the same people that are like don't tread on me people. Don't tread on me. But yes, we need to give cops tanks. Don't tread on me. Let's just give the cops even more money to buy tanks and just give them the full ability to go full Judge Dredd at any moment's notice. I'm such a libertarian conservative that I support the United States government having armed agents of the state just out there acting as judge, jury, and executioner, being frightened of their own shadows. Excuse me. We can talk a little bit about Rafah and about Israel's bombing Lebanon even more today. So I think we should probably talk about that. Oh, great. Now these SJWs want to defund the RCMP dance squad. Shake my damn head. Yeah, like, is it not... It gets into, like, this idea of, like, wokeness and what it is and what it isn't. I think you're downplaying the danger posed by acorns all across America. Well, I remember when Acorn was, like, conservative public enemy number one as well. These people have an extreme fear of Acorn when it's an acronym and when it, like, literal physical acorns that are just falling from a tree. I'd appreciate it if the RCMP didn't arm and fund mass shooters in my neighborhood, is how I feel about it. Yeah, it's like... It's weird how we never really talked about that. It turns out there's a serious link and connection between the RCMP and the largest mass shooting in Canadian history. Well, let's not think about that too much. Let's not explore that. Let's not ask... We might as well just leave that... Let's just leave that in the past. Okay? Let's just look forward, not backward on that. On the fact that the RCMP was directly implicated in the largest mass shooting in this country's history. Let's give them just some more money and just move on from this. The NYPD are literally dabbing on us. Yeah. The NYPD dance troupe. I stole this from someone else, but it's like they neither protect nor serve. Oh, excuse me. I was up too late hell diving. Yeah, the Nova Scotia shooting, they were slow as fuck to respond to, and also the guy doing it was doing so in a RCMP, a perfect replica RCMP vehicle. And had access to, like, cash drops that only RCMP informants would know about. The CIA looking at that article about the woman that gave her savings to a man on the street in a shoebox being like, what are we running all these drugs for? We should start spam calling. Red Scary, like, we talked a lot about that story on Thursday. I wanted to believe it was real, the shoebox story, but Red Scare, do you think, and everyone else in the chat as well, do you think she just made this shit up? Could you even take $50K out of the bank without, like, having red flags and without them triggering, like, the counterterrorism protocols and drug shit, right? The woman is a liar. I want to believe that it's true, but now I'm not so sure anymore. She was cheating on her husband or something insane. Well, that's what I was wondering, Red Scary. Like, that's the one thing that's kind of convinced me, was maybe she did get scammed, but it was like a romance scam, which is very prevalent as well, right? Maybe it was like a romance scam. She got catfished or something, and there was a slow drip. There was a slow drip of money being taken out that eventually her husband was like, what's going on? And then she was like, oh, I got scammed, and had to come up with some fucking wild story. Because it's a humiliating story. You know what I mean? It's a humiliating story. So if she was covering something up, like she's putting out an article that paints her in like a terrible light. You know? So if she's making up a story that makes her look that bad, like she's covering up something. Rob, respecting women Rousseau, disbelieving a poor finance journalist when she pours her heart and admits that she got scammed by a man. Women can be idiotic fuck-ups too. Okay? Yeah, I think this is where I'm at with this, Red Scary. You would only publish something this humiliating as a finance advice columnist if the truth was even more humiliating. We're all so stupid. Either way, it was a very entertaining story. I had a lot of fun on Thursday reading the story and laughing about it. That was very cool. I would never get scammed. Now, excuse me while I clock in another day at the content factory where I help funnel money upwards to literally the world's richest man. Or I don't know, like if he's number 1 or 2 or what's going on right now with that, with all of Elon's issues lately. But the point stands. I would never fall for one of these scams. My favorite was actually all the people being like, "Oh, you think this wouldn't happen to you? Where's your empathy?" Like Red Scary, and this is where I came. Like I talked with Walter Masterson about this on the podcast on Thursday, which was a very funny conversation. And like this is the thing. It's like I don't think no one's immune from getting scammed or conned, scammed or conned. You know. I'm 100% confident though that particularly couldn't happen to me. I'm not above the idea that I could be possibly taken in or scammed or whatever. That particular scam though I would not fall for that particular scam. No way. She got crypto rug pulled 100%. Maybe I think the romance scam angle is the thing that is the most compelling theory that I've heard, I think. Rob, you're a streamer. You get scammed every day by Twitch payouts. Hildy, I swear, I'm going on 4 years doing this. In any given month, I never know how much money I'm going to get in my payout. No clue. I have no clue how this shit works, seriously. It just seems to be completely arbitrary. Sometimes I think there's just someone at Twitch just being like, yeah, sure, this sounds good. It's so weird. Amazon, yeah. I've fallen for a $20 Venmo scam on the sidewalk. Amazon calling me, transferring me to the FTC, and then transferring me to the CIA. Yeah, no thank you. Yeah. And I delivered the money to Jeff Bezos in a paper bag, so the shoebox is not that different. Folks, before we move on to other subjects, I should take this time to remind you that if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. Please, if you can. The only way that I'm able to continue doing this show each and every day, folks, and I don't know exactly from month to month how that's going to be working out for me. It's kind of just basically a surprise. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Sometimes I'm unpleasantly surprised. It's always a surprise, though. What podcast were you on with some guy named Walt? Only caught a few seconds in the room. It was the Insurgents podcast with Walter Masterson. Prove you would never fall for a scam by gifting subs to join the Friendship Triangle. And when you do gift subscriptions to the Friendship Triangle and join this community, then I can give you smart financial advice that immunizes you to falling for these kind of scams and cons. So if you can, folks, please do subscribe to this program.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old
thank
Rob
you for the 2
to
gifted
talk you
subs.
through all this.
But I need money to buy goods. Don't I know it? Money can be exchanged for goods and services. The Cut was really on one last week. They also published that divorce story. I skimmed that. I didn't really look at a lot of it, though. So before we move on, does anyone else want to subscribe to this program? Look at this face. You don't want to support this guy? Really? Really? You really don't want to support this guy? Wow. You know, whatever, man. See if I care. I just don't give a care. Oh, excuse me. I'm tired. Too much hell diving. We don't have much time, chat. We're running out of time. You've got to subscribe now. Not 5 minutes from now. Not 10 minutes from now. Not 30 minutes. 1 hour from now. Not 2 hours from now. Not later tonight. Not tomorrow. Now, it has to be now. It has to be right this second. Or else you lose a lot of the positive benefits of that. Don't tell your friends and family about this. Don't tell your spouse or your significant other. Okay, you're trying to protect them by not telling them about your involvement in this community. I'm just trying to keep you away from toxic people. Jeez. My wife saw this on my watch history and I had to say it was a misclick so she didn't get suspicious. That's smart. That's smart. Keep her off balance.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
I have a group chat dedicated to discussing scams called Grifter Alert, and it was going insane last week. That sounds really, really fun. This sounds like a fun GC. Yeah, I loved that story. I was a little disappointed once it started to occur to me that it probably wasn't real, but I was loving that story though, and it was very funny as well. Like reading it in the chat and see because people not everyone had heard the story, so the reactions were hilarious. Demetrios, thank you for 300 bits. Thank you, Dimitri. Let's look at Eugene Perrier, and I'm sorry for yawning so much. I'm very sleepy. Let's look at Eugene Perrier and Rania Khalek. They're talking about the ongoing bombing campaign in Rafah, and the way there's journalists actually like.
You can count on me.
Asking some questions to the White House
to talk you through all this.
PRP Flax on this. Risk Inverse, thanks for the 3 gifted subs. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Here's Rania and Eugene, 2 friends of the show.
You know, Rania, obviously one of the other major issues that is right in front of us in terms of world events now, obviously, is this, you know, potential ground invasion by the Israelis into Rafah and the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Obviously, I think for those who have been watching, they've been bombing the area very heavily now for some time. There's a lot of sort of back and forth over exactly what's going to happen when, but it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu has, you know, confirmed that they are going to attempt to get into Rafah, and obviously that will be very, very, it's already very, very bloody. I mean, the genocide will continue, I guess you could say. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand have actually, I believe, come out and now called for a ceasefire.
Too little, too late.
Because of this. I think Canada maybe already had called for one. But nonetheless, I mean, you can see that, you know, even those who have been very supportive of Israel
here's the question.
A little bit of
for people that want to give Canada or Australia or New Zealand credit for now calling for a ceasefire 4 months into this thing. What are we doing to meaningfully bring that outcome about? That's the question. I don't think it's enough. I think it's when we're on the street and we're calling for a ceasefire. That is one thing. What are we meaningfully doing? Sorry, I didn't realize the music was still on. What are we meaningfully doing to bring about that outcome? How are we pressuring Israel? That is the question for anyone that's going to be fooled by this. You know? What are we actually doing to bring about that outcome? And in fact, if you look at what Canada and Australia are asking, it's this like ceasefire that's basically predicated on like releasing all these hostages and basically for Hamas to just surrender and just completely be dismantled.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
It's almost certainly closer to 50K by now. The stats stop too suddenly not to assume that. I mean, probably that's exactly why they've gone after the health infrastructure the way they have. Toilet Bowl Toots, thanks for the 31 months of Tier 1. I appreciate it. Valued community member. Toilet Bowl Toots. The plastic surgeon who gives Biden his next facelift has the opportunity to do the world a favor. Man. He looks so unsettling. Rafah was exactly the bloodbath disaster it was warned to be. Yeah, of course it was. Of course. Anyway, my point is, though, that like I don't think Canada or Australia or New Zealand deserve any credit now for calling for a ceasefire now. And I think it's a way to save face. It's a way for them to maintain some level of credibility. They've fully justified this. They've fully supported all the carnage for 4 straight months. They're not meaningfully doing anything to put pressure on Israel to stop the violence. That's the most important thing, I think. If you're just saying we would like a ceasefire, but you're not pressuring Israel in any way, then it's worthless. It's absolutely worthless.
About this one because the level of there's nowhere left to run to now. The Israelis are claiming people can. This is what Netanyahu said on I think it was on the ABC Sunday show. But
it's
on one
very
of them,
depressing.
They can go back to the areas further north that the Israelis have quote unquote cleared. I think obviously we know that a lot of what I believe that they're trying to do and hoping to do is to try to push people out of the Gaza Strip. How exactly that would play, who knows? But nonetheless, whatever the exact elements of it, from the bombing alone of Rafah, I think we've seen that this is, yet another escalation of this just deplorable conduct that's taking place by the Israelis, just massive terrorism happening here in the Gaza Strip. But, nonetheless, Rania, I think maybe the thing that is sitting with me the most is how, the Biden administration talking about how, they're all about morality or whatever. They're trying to push them behind the scenes. They've been saying that since October 9th. We've been pushing them behind the scenes not to do this. It just keeps getting worse and worse. So it's sort of a non sequitur, but I feel like the U.S. complicity in what's happening is just it was bad the whole way through, but it feels like to me it's even more pronounced because they've forced us to, listen to these stupid statements they're making about how they're trying to help people while the situation continues to escalate and they continue to send weapons and, moral support.
I mean, yeah, not just send weapons. You had this vote in the Senate. It was 66-33 was the ultimate outcome from earlier this week. And that was 66-33 voting, not just to give Israel more money, more weapons, make it easier for Biden to send weapons to Israel without even having to come to Congress, but also reinforcing the ban on UNRWA funding. So literally enforcing a ban on food and water and basically to the people that they're sending Israel to bomb. And there's so many different angles to this. It's like your head spins trying to figure out like which part to think about first, because the situation in Rafah is apocalyptic. It is, the scenes that we're seeing aren't even like a full representation of how bad it is. You just see tent after tent after tent. And by tent, I just mean sheets. People are sheltering from the elements with sheets. And the weather there is probably similar to the weather I'm experiencing here in Beirut right now. So it's cold and it's raining a lot. It gets really cold at night. You're basically sleeping outside with hopefully a sheet covering you from when it rains. Cold every single night. And then you wake up in the morning and your life is to search for water and to search for food so that you and your family don't die of thirst and starvation that day. And it's just like you see people crawling around literally on camp. Like there's video footage of people crawling in trash bins looking for spare food to eat. There's no bathrooms to use. It's been like this for months, by the way. Like we've talked about this on the show. This is months of this. This isn't just a few weeks. This is now well into 5 months of this situation at the same time dodging bombs. And now the Israelis are saying, oh, we're gonna they're bombing Rafah, they're invading various parts of it, they're raiding hospitals, everything they basically did across the north of the Gaza Strip, the center of the Gaza Strip, they're now beginning to do in Rafah. And there is literally nowhere else for people to go. People are being sniped to death, by the way, if they do try to return to the north. So that's another lie of Netanyahu's. And then we're just like being gaslit constantly by this sociopathic administration in the US that has these spokespeople get up on podiums every day and tell us that they're doing everything they can to protect the people they are actively killing. It is insane. It is. I mean, this is like, I don't know what other words to use. The word Holocaust comes to mind. The images I'm seeing, it really killed me. I saw this one video of these like young boys at the border with Egypt, and they were like talking to or yelling, shouting at these Egyptian soldiers they saw on the other side, and basically saying,
and escalating in Lebanon.
Okay, if you're not going to let us leave, can you at least give us your guns so we can like fight back?
Every day I wonder, is this
so
the day this is going to really escalate into full-scale regional conflict?
I don't know. I continue to be, it's like a sense of bewilderment at how there are still people watching this happen and saying, yeah, but Hamas, yeah, but they deserve it. Yeah, but they use human shields. It's just the genocidal drive towards Palestinians.
The idea that after 4 months of seeing this, you could still say, but Hamas.
I don't know. And then there's the last factor I'll mention, Eugene, is
it's nuts.
The potential ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza. It stands to be seen what the Egyptian government's going to ultimately do. But that would be a huge red line for a group like Hezbollah.
It seems like the U.S. and Israel want to escalate this conflict solely. Well, I guess that's the one thing, is that it seems like the U.S. has been doing everything not to escalate it to the fact that, to the point that they're involved. But Israel wants to involve the United States. That seems to be the way that it's looking to me, because the United States, I don't think, wants to be stuck in the Middle East again. The United States wants to be destabilizing Russia and China. They absolutely failed destabilizing Russia.
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to
and
talk
they
want to
pivot to China.
I think it's time we move to first base.
And this is preventing them from being able to really do that. Crad Babes, thanks for 20 months of Tier 1. But that's the thing. They need the Middle East. This is the thing about October 7th, is that they thought they had it sewn up. They were just getting ready to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia. I think they thought they had the whole thing sewn up. Of course, they didn't get the Syrian regime change that they wanted. But they're like, we're normalizing with Saudi Arabia. We're really like, this is stitched together now. We can kind of just let this going with minimal interference, and now that's gone forever. That's just gone forever now. Oh, it's okay, Crab Babes. I still don't know what it's in reference to, but Israel wants Hezbollah to get involved, so USA will get more involved. Yeah, and after the bombing that we saw this morning, and we can look at footage of it after, Hezbollah is certainly going to respond to that, as they've repeatedly said that they were going to. The more they start escalating and going into these residential neighborhoods, the more Hezbollah is going to get more deeply involved in this. Yeah, that's true, Red Scary. It's also crazy this revealed the CIA director is the actual Secretary of State, and Blinken is just a guy in a suit they move around. Yeah, I mean, even the idea of the Secretary of State is just doing they're just the above board division of the CIA, you know? 20 months into the relationship that's totally not parasocial. I think we can move to first base. Okay, that sounds good to me. Crad babes, thank you.
So, that's another way this is playing with
Just be one
fire.
sec.
Obviously, things have been escalating gradually between Lebanon and Israel, but they've still stayed at like a simmer compared to the potential of what could actually happen.
Yeah.
So that could blow up too if the Israelis cross that red line.
No, I think it's a good point, and there's the ongoing attacks on the Al Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis, which I believe is actually now tanks are in there, and they've forced all these people to leave. And so the war on hospitals, of course, is continuing. We're now just getting more and more information about the just like total inhumanity that people who are being, kidnapped in these mass raids where they're kidnapping and detaining people, just the worst possible sort of dehumanizing treatment that can possibly be, conceived of being put on people. I mean, you've got certainly, it seems pretty clear now, especially if you include, those who are likely trapped under the rubble, that were over 100,000 people killed or wounded, which is a just stunning statistic. And you can see there on my left, some of those images are of, some of those mass raids. And these are like not, listen, I don't know anything about anything, but from what we've seen in terms of the reporting, it seems pretty clear that most of these people are not just regular people, but anyone of a certain military age. And, it's funny, the military age male, which I know you'll remember this well, Rania, this was the whole issue with the drone strikes of the U.S. and Afghanistan. It was just if you were between 15 and 60 or something, and they saw you on a camera and a group of 5 people, they could just launch a drone strike against you. They didn't have to know anything other than you were just standing around. And we saw the recent drone strike that was done on those 3 Palestinians who were just starting a motorcycle. A guy trying to kickstart a motorcycle and his 2 friends kind of pushing him to get the thing going. And they just, took a shot at him. Who knows what they were doing? And it just, you can see the level of, just total psyops that are happening here, where they're trying to reduce the impact of the toll of what's happening by trying to make it seem as if some significant subset of people are, and the same thing with the UNRWA thing, like, well, 12 of them knew something about Hamas, something, to create this perception that this isn't a mass slaughter of mainly civilians. And, not that it really is justified, because obviously the Palestinian people have the right to resist. So the idea that somehow it's like more or less justified, but from the point of view of the popular imagination, you know what I'm saying? The idea of killing civilians, of course, being something that people are rightfully, very, very distressed by, I think is, yet again, you can see these attempts to try to find a way to, reduce the impact of it, and all these attempts to just distract from it. I mean, that's what I am constantly telling people. Like the whole issue of like, is there a tunnel under this? Are they doing that? Are they doing this? What happened on October 7th? Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, this is the whole point, that this is not random. This is deliberate. The Israelis are hoping by creating a whole series of random crises around their lives that they can keep people from focusing on the real issue, which is that they're conducting this genocidal assault on the Gaza Strip day in and day out that is sparing no one no matter what, and that they know every single thing about it, which we know from reporting from 972 magazine, that every single strike, they know what they're doing, how many people they're likely killing, and that most of them aren't actually involved in anything whatsoever. So, you have to create all these little side controversies to keep people from continually focusing in on that. And I think that's a lot of what we see with these various sort of things that are cropping up about what really happened, where, when, and why, and a lot of these things is to distract people. There's a Hamas base under that. It's to get people talking for a week about whether or not Al-Shifa Hospital is a Hamas base, and not the fact that clearly people who are in a hospital who are injured individuals are being starved out, shot, sniped, all these different things in a way that I think most people would find negative. So I think that's another aspect of this, is the deep sort of psyop intelligence age element to this that is really, aggressively trying to draw attention away from what's happening.
Yeah, that's what the Israelis excel at, right? It's all about distracting. I mean, at this point, people have probably forgotten about it, but remember the first hospital they bombed was Al Ahli Hospital, and everybody spent 2 weeks talking about whether or not it was Islamic Jihad that did it, because the Israelis said so, right? Then it became suddenly, and now bombing hospitals.
At what point do we just start understanding that when Israel says stuff, they're lying? With anything, It's always lies. Like at what point when someone lies and lies and lies repeatedly, are you just doing journalistic malpractice to take the things that they say seriously at all? Or not to just assume it's a lie until proven otherwise?
Israel's like gone to war against every single hospital in Gaza because apparently Hamas, like that's the only place they put their headquarters. Well, no, that's not true. Hamas puts its headquarters wherever Israel bombs, which is all of Gaza. All of Gaza is just one big Hamas headquarters. And we're all just supposed to believe that. At one point, I think it was like, you know what? You might as well just say that every single Palestinian has Hamas, has Hamas terror tunnel inside of their veins, because it's the only thing that explains all of them being killable. I mean, it's just
pretty much what these like prominent
insane.
Israeli ministers are saying.
I really do believe that there's a special place down below for Matt Miller and John Kirby. I mean, these people, I don't know, like if they're like actually sociopaths or what it is. Monsters. Like how much are they being? There's not enough money that you could pay me to get up on a podium every single day and justify a genocide the way these two have. It's disgusting.
Amazingly, John Kirby actually said that Israel was better than the American military. I mean,
it's like he's just a wind-up. It's like a wind-up lawyer for Israel or something. Like, it's just insane. And he's like a crisis actor too, because he can cry on demand when it's about Ukrainians. But when it's about Palestinians, it's like, no, like you don't get to be human, and I will justify literally every single atrocity against you. And the same, Matt Miller does it a little differently. He kind of smirks when he knows he's about to go viral. Like you can tell in the, he knows he's like, when he's about answering a question, he's like, this is going to go viral. Yeah. But it's like, at this point, it's like, I used to kind of enjoy, it used to be a little bit cathartic watching reporters ask them the tough questions. But you know exactly what they're going to say.
Kirby on? He's on team
every time.
Mass murder.
There's not even any point in asking anymore. At this point, there's been a line drawn in the sand. There is a line, and you are either for genocide or against it. It is that simple. It's 5 months into this. If you are still confused, like the only people who are still confused are people who either just started paying attention or people who are racist, frankly, because you have to be racist to support this on any level whatsoever. I don't care how much you hate Hamas. I don't care how much you think October 7th was such a horrible atrocity. If you think anything justifies this, something is deeply wrong with you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because it doesn't even conform to like the most basic principles of proportionate response. You know what I mean? Like, again, I think people know our position. They certainly know my position as a person on this issue. I don't think that any of this is justified because it's a totally unjustifiable apartheid, settler colonial project. Exactly. But let's just say you were looking at it from the point of view of like, well, maybe both sides have a point. Okay, well then if you're claiming, Israel, and we can't even fully believe this number, that 1,200 people died on October 7th, you'd think that when 1,200 people died on the other side, that's sort of like the eye for an eye kind of Hammurabi's code, type of orientation. But now you're killing 30-some thousand people. I mean, this is ridiculous. Anybody who somehow thinks this is proportionate is just insane. But, the thing is, and I think this is the important element here, and then we'll close on this, it's the point you're making, Rania, about how it's totally unjustifiable, is it speaks yet again to the fact that this is a settler colonial project, because this is exactly what they said in Vietnam. All the Vietnamese, we don't need. They're all.
Anytime a colonialist government,
the kids, all of them. So we got to kill everybody. They're everywhere. You never know. You just got to bomb them all. The French about Algeria. They're all out here killing us. They're all guerrillas. They're all supporters of the National Liberation Front. We got to kill them all. The Native Americans. Well, we got to kill them all because you can't trust them. You can't trust any of them. I mean, you know what they used to say in the Old West? The only good Indian is a dead Indian, right? So the idea is they're all complicit. They're all there. These settler colonial projects always do this. And in the past, when we're talking about indigenous people, when we're talking about Algeria, when we're talking about Vietnam, when we're talking about Malaysia, the Malay emergency, look at how many Malays were killed by the British in the 1960s there. If you want to learn more, people say that was so terrible. They never should have done that. What an evil, horrible thing. So if you believe that about all these other situations, you have to apply the same logic here. Israel, just like every other occupying power that's trying to ethnically cleanse a land in order to control it and to do whatever they want to do, is creating this completely fake narrative to dehumanize Palestinians.
Red Scare, I just saw that just a moment ago. The Hitler's
Anyone who is on the side of that,
man?
You are so far on the wrong side of history.
Red Scary, the thing about praising Hitler's art is the funny thing is that the right can't determine, like, Hitler is simultaneously left wing and bad, and also did nothing wrong and was a good painter and was good and someone that should emulate. It's amazing how it's like Hitler is simultaneously both of those things for a lot of people on the right. It's funny as well because of the open fascists on the right now that aren't even hiding that anymore. And when they try to distance themselves from Hitler, they're like, Hitler was left wing. And then you have people like actual conservatives online being like, no, he was right wing and he was good. And I support that. It's like they can't even pretend anymore.
I don't even know what to tell you. So I think it's a very good point you made there, Ronnie. There's no, at this point, come on. Like even if you try to justify it, you can't. So we will obviously go ahead.
Eugene, I just want to throw one more thing. This is a live stream genocide. Like you can't even claim to not really know what's happening because all you have to do is open your phone and see what's happening. It's being live streamed.
Yep.
Both sides are live streaming it, by the way, and one side is actually celebrating the genocide. So that's who you choose to align yourself with.
And the same people are like, well, they celebrated October 7th. Palestinians celebrated October 7th. It's like, yeah, no shit. After 70 years of colonization and theft and exploitation and murder, and 20 years of Gaza being closed off in this open-air prison camp, yeah, they celebrated when people busted out of the prison camp that they're being kept in. That's actually a normal reaction. And meanwhile, you have Israelis openly celebrating the mass murder of 30,000 people, which is apparently not cause for any kind of, or justification for any kind of retaliation. The cognitive dissonance between these two things, like October 7th, no justification, no possible justification for it. They celebrate it. Can you believe it? And then feeling like there is justification for the last 4 months of violence that we've seen, and that it's okay to celebrate that. And that the way that these people hold both of these thoughts in their mind at the same time, these totally contradictory worldviews, they hold these two ideas in their mind at the same time and don't see any fucking problem with it. It's truly amazing to me.
Maniacal psychos who are consumed by hate and just cruelty, then go right ahead, be on the side of the genocidaires. But you have, like I said, you have, chosen the side you want to be on in history, and the world will look back on this moment and they will see who sided with the Nazis and who sided with the people being murdered.
Just
and
real
it's
quick,
very simple.
UNRWA just reporting that 17,000 children in Gaza have been separated from their parents. 17,000 children, and I'm sure that includes.
Imagine justifying that. Imagine justifying that. Imagine justifying orphans. And these aren't children who were just like they were at a concert and like that. That's like scary enough when you like everybody has a memory from when
if you
they're
lose a kid in the mall
like,
or something like that. Yeah.
Grocery store, the mall, and it's like really traumatic. Even like you remember that and you're like, oh, I was really scared. This is in the worst circumstances imaginable. These are people who have lost their parents because they survived a bombing of their building and spent maybe like a day in the rubble thinking they were going to die too.
Yeah.
Like these are people who lost their siblings. These are people whose families died the worst deaths imaginable, suffocating under rubble. Like it's just unfathomable the trauma that people are going to come out of when this is eventually over, if they end up surviving. Just yesterday in Lebanon, there was the Israelis hit a building in Nabatieh in southern Lebanon, and they killed an entire family. And one of the kids in that family, this little boy, survived. And there's now
I'm sure
this
none of those kids are going to end up joining Hamas or whatever other resistance
clearly,
group
like, had
is going
been
to take
tucked
their
into
place.
bed before this building was bombed. And you just think to yourself, this kid is now an orphan. What is the rest of his life going to be like? And how does he get over that trauma? And he looked so terrified because he thought he was going to die too. And now his entire family's gone. And there's so many kids like that in Gaza. And now more and more of them across Lebanon. And it's just like the destruction of an entire generation of children.
Please make sure you support Breakthrough News and Ronnie and Eugene's content. I just linked the video there in the chat, but please make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you're following them as well. Really, really appreciate the work that both of them do, both Ronnie and Eugene and the whole crew over there. Yeah, this was this morning. This was earlier in Lebanon. So escalating in Lebanon as well.
غاروا علي
Crazy.
الله أكبر
Jesus.
يا عفو الله يا ويلي الله أكبر هاي واحد تاني صورتن الله أكبر
30 kilometers from Beirut. And I think like Red Scary, like Nasrallah was saying, it's like they haven't been doing nothing. But like it is true that like if this continues, like they're not going to be able to keep out of this to the extent that they have. They have been launching bombs and rockets into Israel. They've been engaging with the IDF in certain places, but have been very cagey about getting fully involved as well. Which Nasrallah, I think, has in the communications that he's made, it's like seems like he's been pretty clear about that. Yeah, I don't think they've been acting proportionally as well, but it is true that it seems like the more this continues, it's going to be much more difficult to keep making this case about being as cautious as they have. Israeli airstrikes on Saida, Gazia area. This is not close to the current front lines and deep into Lebanon. Reports suggest ISR hit a farm area. That's a fucking big bomb, too. It's a huge explosion. God, that would be so terrifying to live through that all the time. We really take that for granted. How much that's got to instill fear in you when you're so used to these bombings and then hearing the planes. Like, I thought about that a lot during the Obama era, like the victims of Obama's drone campaigns. Just hearing, you're so fucking traumatized from living through that. You just hear the planes, you hear the drones in the sky. And it's immediately this like, is this the day? Is this the day that it's going to happen to me? Let me see. Crazy. But yeah, like we were pointing out, it seems like they're still trying to almost like they're trying to provoke a stronger response, ultimately with the goal of getting the U.S. fully involved in this. Yeah, the constant drone buzzing in the videos coming from Gaza is insane, nightmare shit. No, like, and how it's always at night too. Like, we really think like how terrifying that must be. Every night the sun starts to go down, and it's like, what horrors beyond human comprehension are going to happen this night, you know? Every night for 4 months. It's like unthinkable. It's really just impossible to imagine. For those of us that have grown up here in the empire babies, you know, empire babies like me and most of the people in this chat, this idea of living through something like that. It's so shocking just to think about. I think they just think they can get away with it without being pulled back by the U.S., and they're right. I mean, I saw a double headline today of like Biden urging Netanyahu to take peace deal. Immediately under the headline, U.S. sending more unconditional aid and weapons to Israel. Like I was saying, with both Canada and the United States, you have Canada calling for a ceasefire officially now. And you have America apparently behind the scenes urging for restraint and urging them to take the ceasefire deal. Neither of them meaningfully putting any kind of pressure on Israel whatsoever. You know? And just calling for a ceasefire is not putting pressure. Here's all this money. I urge you not to spend it. All money that can only be spent on U.S. bombs, by the way. I agree, Red Scary. I think someone should elect you to be the next president. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you would do a better job. Also, the British ship Yemen hit has sunk. I think that's a first. That will probably escalate things a little bit as well. This is insane as well. More prisoner abuse, snuff-like propaganda on Israeli TV. This time on mainstream Channel 13. Palestinian detainees at dark cells, no mattresses, no clean clothes, cuffed legs, cuffed to each other 24/7, Hebrew music playing non-stop. And that's like Guantanamo shit.
בתא אפשר לראות שמדובר במיטות קומותיים בלי מזרן ואין אסלה, רק בול פגיעה בחושך כמעט מוחלט לאורך היום. כולם מזוקים ברגליים כל הזמן, ואחד לשני. יש להם לחם ומה? גבינה צהובה?
לא. יש פה לחם, עגבנייה וגבינה. זהו. וככה צריך להיות אסיר נוח'בה. בהתנהלות הזאת. ככה הוא צריך להיות. אוקיי? מה שהיה ב7 לאוקטובר לא יחזור.
בתא אפשר לראות
It's on Israeli TV. Yeah, with the barking dog. And so this could all stop if Hamas just gave back the hostages. And this also goes back to all the it always being a lie. Israeli propaganda, January 16th, repeated by all of Western media. Hamas killed hostages, including Yossi Sharabi. Israeli media 1 month later, yeah, okay, we killed them. Exactly like Hamas said originally. January 17th, Israel says Hamas has killed 2 of 3 hostages seen in recent videos. 9th February. Hostage Yoshi Sharabi was likely killed as a result of IDF strike. How many of these hostages have been killed, which apparently are the reason that all this has happened? Just give back the hostages. It could be over. How many of these hostages have been killed in these conditions? I just realized this whole time that I did not turn on my lighting. I was looking at the screen going why doesn't it look the way it's supposed to look? And I realized I'm kind of tired and out of it, and I forgot to put on my lighting. I wanted to talk about this too, because I think it's important to talk about even the ways that like progressive U.S. political figures get
over
used
600
to uphold American militarism. And like Rashida Tlaib over the last 4 months has been really brave, talking about Israel, talking about Palestinians and what's happening to them. Unapologetic in her language, defending phrases like from the river to the sea, with all the people coming after her, all the delusional, deranged psychos coming after Rashida Tlaib. And then you hear even Rashida Tlaib will then turn around and make excuses for and justify U.S. militarism. I introduced the Justice for Syrians resolution to push for the UN to finally hold war criminal Assad accountable for his crimes against humanity. We must demand justice for the Syrian people.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
May Yashit.
Hack all the things. Thanks for the 2 months, tier 1. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's just like one, like you're such a strong critic of American foreign policy in many ways. She's been so great and unapologetic about standing up for Palestine. And then she turns right around and justifies more American imperialism. And you can talk about the horror of the Syrian civil war. We can and should talk about the horror of the Syrian civil war. We can't talk about that, though, without acknowledging that the United States, similar to the ways that they provoked the war in Ukraine, helped provoke the Syrian civil war in the first place by arming and funding these extremist groups like ISIS, and like funding and working with these like Al-Qaeda offshoot terrorists in Syria. If they had gotten the regime change that they wanted in Syria, these extremists would be in charge of Syria right now. That happened. That was what the Obama administration was trying to do, and Russia said no. And Russia stepped in and said, no, we're not going to let you do this. I don't understand how you can have this like unapologetic progressive vision for foreign policy, and you're going to critique American foreign policy in Israel and then say like, no, it was good that we armed and funded these extremists in Syria because Assad bad. We should have turned Syria into another Libya. How do you have these two viewpoints? I don't fucking understand. You know, I genuinely don't get it. And if she thinks this is like giving her credibility, if she thinks that the people that think she's some like, ironically, it's like people accuse Rashida Tlaib of supporting terrorism because she's against Israel. And that's obviously not true. But then you turn around and support terrorism by supporting the armed extremists that the United States was using to destabilize and overthrow the Syrian government. Ironic, that's the twisted irony of that. Supporting Palestine is not supporting terrorism, but when you're pulling this shit, you are in fact supporting terrorism. You're supporting the actual terrorists that the United States was giving funding and training and weapons to. It was Assad's position on normalizing relations with Israel that made Syria a target. Yeah, I mean, that's another twisted irony of it, isn't it? Syria was always the next target with the war on terror. Also, nobody likes remembering that. Yeah, because they lost. They wanted to turn Syria into another Libya. And that's the thing. You don't have to think Assad is good to acknowledge that would have been a disaster. You don't have to think that Assad is good to acknowledge that the United States has no fucking business provoking and intensifying a civil war in Syria to do regime change there. Just like you don't have to like Putin to acknowledge that it was wrong for the U.S. to provoke a war there. and arm and fund and train extremist groups in Ukraine and bomb civilians in the Donbass over the last 10 years. You don't have to, and exactly the same, Red Scary, like with Assad and Putin. All it did is make him more popular. So yeah, you did a wonderful job. You don't have to think Assad is good or Putin is good to acknowledge that the U.S. should not have been involved in these conflicts in any way. I don't pretend Saddam was worse, but the alternative was clearly worse. Yeah, and Saddam was a U.S. puppet to begin with. My position is that wars should not go on forever, and sometimes that means people like Assad wins, but some people want civil wars to go on forever. Well, it certainly seems like that was the position of the U.S. government. If we can't do regime change, we'll just keep this war going forever. And who gets hurt in that? And then you have to wonder who's causing the violence. If the war would stop without U.S. involvement in either Syria or Ukraine, who's responsible for the violence? You can't pump arms into this region and train these extremist groups and back them, and then just feel like, oh, we have nothing. It's the other. It's Assad that's causing the violence. It's Putin that's causing the violence. Like, they provoked this war. So it'd just be cool for some people that have some kind of progressive foreign policy vision to stick to that vision and not do this kind of shit. Legitimize U.S. militarism on one hand, legitimize Islamic extremism on one hand, and then on the other hand, criticizing Israel and criticizing U.S. foreign policy there. Like, the U.S. government got it wrong on Israel, but we did get it right, provoking this civil war in Syria, though. Apprentice, I don't know. Like, this is kind of off topic, so I don't know. Yeah, I would support the government in either Canada or the United States buying up monopolies and nationalizing them. I don't feel like that's going to be happening anytime soon, though. Yeah, they're just moderate rebels. They're moderate rebels we're arming and fighting, just like there were moderate rebels in Libya. Anyway, I don't really get it.
May have been involved in the. As you said repeatedly, the U.S. chose to be cautious as it suspended funding to UNRWA for allegations that 12 of its 30,000-person staff, may have been involved in the atrocities on October 7th. And as you described yesterday, that's kind of standard U.S. policy to have this type of caution with all sorts of entities. But, as our colleagues have asked you over the past few months, there have been broad and specific human rights violations that we've been concerned about, human attacks against hospitals and churches, targeting people with white flags, both Israeli hostages and Palestinians, torturing Palestinians, and now, of course, this attack on Henry Rajab's family and leaving her to die horribly. And so I'm wondering, on all this, you've said we're looking into it and Israel is investigating, but in each of these cases, the U.S. doesn't seem to be as cautious with its money and support as it is with UNRWA. It's to the point that the ICJ and the U.S. court both say Israel may be plausibly committing genocide. Still, U.S. money is coming, while the U.S. shut off UNRWA funding immediately. So I'm just wondering if you could explain that sort of difference.
Let me say there is, I think, a false equivalency embedded in that question between members of a terrorist organization who went out and intentionally killed innocent civilians.
Oh, Israel's not intentionally.
That is the difference. When you have members of Hamas who participated,
they kill intentionally. We kill
7th,
way more people accidentally.
Made by the government of Israel, that I should say UNRWA itself found credible. Those are allegations that UNRWA found credible.
We kill people accidentally.
Intentionally,
the bad guys do it intentionally.
In a terrorist action to murder civilians. That is different than a military campaign conducted in an environment where that terrorist organization hides behind human shields. And so we will continue to
The IDF hides
engage with
behind
the government
human
of Israel
shields.
about how to minimize civilian casualties.
You have people living outside of a concentration camp. That's like the definition of human
civilians
shields.
from being killed, but I think they are very different matters for the reasons I just articulated.
Just a follow-up channel.
Said, go ahead.
They kill people on purpose. We just kill people accidentally. That's their answer. That's their fucking answer. It's really amazing, honestly.
Quote unquote pressure that you have applied, while you say you have seen some results from the quote unquote pressure
worm.
that you have applied, they're not.
Yeah, that's
enough.
true, Baldwin. Like that's the whole thing. One group is legitimate and another is not legitimate because we said so. One group is a terrorist group and one is a legitimate military. Who decides whether they're a terrorist group? Well, we do. Who's committing more terrorism? Well, that doesn't matter because when our side commits the terrorism, it's being done entirely by accident. Killing civilians accidentally is not meaningfully different. Both are war crimes. Well, as some people, like certain debate streamers, have tried to explain, it's actually not a war crime when you kill civilians when you're engaged in a military operation. But again, when a resistance group does that and civilians are killed as part of their military operation, that's terrorism. And we control who's a terror group and who's not a terror group. That's just people dying in a war, exactly.
And that the situation is still not good and not and not acceptable to you. Is that a fair assessment of what you said?
I will say, I think that sometimes people pretend that the United States of America has a magic wand that it can wave to make any situation in the world.
It's the most powerful country in the world.
Exactly the way that we would want it to.
You're arming, you're fucking giving them billions of dollars. You give them billions of dollars every year, and now you're releasing more billions of dollars. But no, we don't have a magic wand. We can't just make any situation change overnight. You literally can. You literally do have an actual magic wand that could stop this overnight. Reddit University alumnus, international rights lawyer. Not a war crime if there's a war. That's right. But again, if you're an occupied, colonized group, then you don't get that protection.
Tools are available.
Other people.
We use the tools that are available to try to influence policy. They are imperfect, and there are ways in which we have been able to show tangible results and more that we want to do, and that is why we continue to stay engaged.
But there are others who would say that you have a multitude of billions of things that you could use to.
I'm aware.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you haven't used those.
You're overseeing the death
of always,
tens of thousands
of people. When we look at all
of
of the tools in our at our disposal, we have to look at the upsides of using them, and we have to look at the downsides in making those determinations.
So
these people are evil. Yeah, Reagan. That's true. Relic. I mean, it keeps coming back to that. Fucking Reagan in the 80s called them and said it's stopping right now, and it stopped. Like I've been saying before, we've talked about the ways that Israel makes Jewish people less safe. Israel contributes to these very anti-Semitic tropes. But that's what I mean. It's like when you get this impression that that Israel government can pretty much just do whatever we want and push around the United States government, they're powerless to stop them. That's what gives people this idea of the Zionist occupied government, this white supremacist idea. It contributes to this. It contributes to people's understanding of this. We know the United States supports Israel because it's a colonial outpost on the doorstep of the Middle East, right? We know that. But the way that they've been conducting themselves over the last 4 months gives people the impression that it's the other way around.
while you say
like what
you have seen
what
some
are people supposed to take away? When the United States government is just like, here's all this money and weapons. Oh please, stop doing war crimes, and they're just saying no. They're just laughing at them. They're just laughing in their faces. Honestly, I don't think even Obama would let Israel off this much. I mean, it seemed like Baldwin, especially towards the end of the Obama administration, there was this effort to meaningfully push back on Israel. Like, they were like, not that they fucking did anything really in terms of holding them accountable for the violence in Gaza or the settlements or anything like that. They did go through with the Iran deal, though, which Israel was completely 100% opposed to. And there was a lot of like leaked kind of State Department people that were just like, these settlements are illegal. And it's like, there seemed like there was some frustration, at least on the part of the Obama administration, that manifested in certain material ways. Like the Iran deal is the number one example of that. And what did Brandon do? I mean, upon coming back into office, did he restore the Iran deal that Donald Trump totally walked away from? Nope. And he's fully supported them to the hilt on this genocide in Gaza as well. I do remember Israelis really didn't like Obama. Yeah, I wonder why. Which is hilarious because they, you know what? They don't like Joe Biden either. They still think Joe Biden is like supporting Hamas. They still think Justin Trudeau is like supporting Hamas. They don't even like Biden even when he does everything for them. That's the really amazing thing. Yeah, they want Trump back.
Rafah, saying that it would have serious implication for regional peace and security. Al Jazeera's diplomatic editor James Bays reports from
I think
the
it's
UN
their experience that
headquarters
whatever they
in
can
New
get
York.
under Dems is a fraction of what they can get from Republicans. Yeah,
here
and
at the
without
United
any
Nations
without
show
even
that
any of the hand
perhaps
wringing,
US policy towards
without any of the bullshit liberal hand wringing. Oh, we're so concerned about that. They know they'll get none of that from the Republican administration.
Security Council proposed by Algeria, which was due to be put to the vote on Tuesday, calling for an immediate ceasefire. But now, at the last minute, the US has proposed its own draft resolution, and it mentions the word ceasefire, not an immediate one, but what it says is a temporary ceasefire in Gaza as soon as practicable. And this US resolution
just live Al
also
Jazeera
condemns the
stuff.
idea of a ground incursion by Israel into Rafah. It says that under the current circumstances, such an incursion should not proceed. The US Deputy Ambassador Robert Wood said they decided to put forward their own proposal because they believed the Algerian one was not going to make things better on the ground.
Look, we're very concerned about the overall situation there. I mean, it's getting worse every day, and we're very concerned about it. And
They've
we want
been very
to do
concerned
something
for 4 months now.
that can impact what's going on the ground. We just think the Algerian resolution isn't going to have that impact that we think is important, and that's why we're looking at other options to see what we can do from a practical standpoint to really make a difference on the ground.
So there are now two competing draft resolutions. What's the view of the UN Secretary General?
The Secretary General would like to see, first of all, on the ground, it's a humanitarian ceasefire, the immediate release of all hostages, increasing humanitarian access. He would like to see the
Which
Security
hostages,
Council speak with one voice on this
The
issue.
immediate release of all hostages. What does that
US
mean
draft
exactly?
resolution also rejects the idea of reducing the size
Does
of
Israel-
Gaza
are
with
they
the
releasing
setting
all
up
their
of a
hostages?
buffer zone, and it condemns Israeli government ministers.
We're
who
very
call
concerned. We're
for the
continuing having
resettlement of Gaza.
sometimes
What's not
difficult
clear
conversations.
is how the rest of the Security Council are going to respond. More negotiations seem likely. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
In Gaza City, thousands of Palestinians have raced to collect flour from the limited number of aid trucks entering the strip. The crowds were met with Israeli gunfire. Well, what you can see there is Palestinians being
Jesus
shot
Christ.
at by Israeli soldiers while trying to receive the much-needed aid to feed themselves and their families. At least one person was killed and several others injured. People have been particularly desperate for food aid in the north of Gaza. Meanwhile, hunger is reaching new levels in Gaza. Children have been filmed resorting to collecting flour that has fallen off aid trucks onto the ground. And disease is spreading in crowded refugee camps in northern Gaza, where there's been a lack of humanitarian assistance.
But don't call it a
There is so
genocide,
little
though.
food
Even
that
Bernie
some
Sanders is
residents
still
have
not
been forced
is still
to
refusing
eat
to use the
animal
word.
feed in order to survive.
Oh, there's
Anas
disease
Al-Sharif is more
outbreaks
from
at these
Jabalia in
concentration
northern
camps?
Gaza.
No, it's too offensive to say genocide. That's
We are
taking
in a
it too
shelter
far.
at Jabalia refugee camp. This shelter hosts thousands of displaced people whose houses have been destroyed during Israel's war on Gaza. Displaced Palestinians here live in difficult conditions. They suffer from hunger, as well as different types of diseases spreading here due to malnutrition. The shelter here is overcrowded.
I am Abu Muhammad. It's winter and we can't find a proper tent. We can't find anything to eat. We only find animal feed. We used before to grind barley and eat, but there is no barley now, so we resorted to animal feed. This is what we eat now. Animal feed is not meant to be consumed by people, yet the price for it has gone up. The children are starving. Diseases are all over the place. Hepatitis is all over the place. We are 7 persons in a very small tent.
It's a competition between us and the animals.
It
Who
is
will
a
eat the
crazy
feed
idea,
first.
Silver Age, because the
We ate
Democrats
animals
support
and the
all those
pigeon fish
institutions that
because
you're
of the
talking about.
occupation and the siege imposed on us for the last 17 years. Where shall we go? They want to transfer us? Our loud
Yeah,
and
Dr.
final
Maggie, we should
clear
do- maybe we can do that
messages,
in the Discord
we will not
server.
leave our land.
If I don't die of shelling, I will die of hunger or I will die of diseases.
There is no drinking water, there is no food. Diseases have killed our children. Sewage overflowed in the camp. We can't sleep. We are being badly humiliated. Hepatitis is everywhere. I didn't have bread for 2 weeks. There is no flour. My son has a pelvic fracture and we don't know how to treat him.
This is the situation of the displaced people here. There is nothing here for them, even for the basics of life.
أنس الشريف الجزيرة مخيم جباليا.
Okay, let's go to Tarek Abu Azoum. He's live for us in Rafah City in southern Gaza. And Tarek, we're hearing that there's been a strike on a house in Rafah in the last few hours. Can you tell us any more?
Yes, that's right. We have been seeing a clear gradual increase of Israeli military attacks on the southern part of the Gaza Strip, where Rafah had been targeted in the past few hours, where a residential building had been attacked. The first time that the building has been hit with a missile that did not explode, and it has been also exposed to another missile that destroyed the building, but luckily no one there has been reported injured or killed, as Israeli forces are scaling up the military attacks on other parts of the Gaza Strip in the past hour, exactly on the central areas of Gaza City, of the Gaza Strip, where Deir al-Balah had been widely attacked. At least dozens of Palestinians have been injured in one of the latest attacks that destroyed a residential building there, alongside with another house had been targeted in the northern part of a Nusayrat refugee camp, as 6 Palestinians as well have been reported killed in a Zaytun neighborhood in Gaza City after their residential building was completely reduced to the rubble. Now, these attacks continued as more rescue efforts are also made by the civil defense crews in order to pull and to recover the victims and the injured people from under the rubble. But with the high intensity of bombardment, the situation for them is getting much more difficult, as people there are still calling for an urgent and immediate help for the people who are still under the rubble in order to be rescued. But the Israeli forces continues to expand their close contact fighting with the Palestinian fighters also in other parts of the Gaza Strip, specifically in Khan Yunis city, which had been one of the main focal points of the Israeli military incursion within the past few weeks.
And Tarek, some pretty disturbing scenes coming from Gaza City earlier today, highlighting once again how horrific and desperate the situation in Gaza has become.
Well, this is a part of the reality, in fact, there on the ground in the north of the territory, a very tiny area being under unrelenting Israeli bombardment from land, air and sea, where they are completely deprived from the basic necessities to be afforded, specifically in light of the very limited amounts of humanitarian supplies being delivered to the north, where people are completely starving as they are visibly become very thin. And it was completely clear how Israel was systematically trying to make people starving throughout the deliberate targeting of bakeries, food shops, as people also who were waiting for humanitarian trucks to get to the north were shot today, as a number of Palestinians being reported killed within the past few days, as people who are in a very desperate need for food do not know what to do more in order to afford their children the basic food items, specifically that children under 5 are completely suffering from a clear malnutrition amid a clear widespread of diseases there, with a very clear absence of hygiene facilities because of the Israeli unrelenting bombardment. But food experts are saying that only a ceasefire might really help to mitigate the aggravating humanitarian crisis by affording the northern part of the Gaza Strip unconditional humanitarian aid deliveries there to help people to cope with the situation on the ground.
Okay, thank you for that. Tariq Abu Zoom there for us in Rafah in southern Gaza.
I think, too, this is kind of an interesting post here. It's from Middle East Observer a couple hours ago. It says IMO, Hezbollah is preparing for a new phase of confrontation regarding the Nabatea civilians massacre. Hezbollah could have responded like it usually does when retaliating to avenge civilians by intensively bombing the northern settlements. They could have done that as they did before, but Saeed Hassan Nasrallah made it very clear that there will be blood, indicating a different type of retaliation. To me, it seems like a new phase, and this is purely like kind of editorializing from Middle East Observer, so who knows what that means. It also seems that with today's Israeli strike on Gaza, Israel has already started this new phase before even Hezbollah retaliates. This is from Nasrallah's last speech he did.
You can
count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Barbara, thanks for the gifted sub. I really appreciate it.
نساؤنا وأطفالنا الذين قتلوا في هذه الأيام في النبطية وفي الصواني وفي غيرها من قرى الجنوب سوف يدفع العدو ثمن سفكهم لدمائهم دماء.
And the U.S. is still like, oh, we're calming this thing down. This thing's calming down any day now. It's not expanding. We're not involved.
ولا أفصل بل نتركها للميدان الذي هو بعون الله وبرعاية الله وبتأييد الله سبحانه وتعالى وعقل وتدبير وشجاعة وبطولة المجاهدين من إخوانكم وأبنائكم إن شاء الله. نترك الأيام للوقت وسيرى العدو الصديق أن هذه الدماء سيكون ثمنها دماء مش مواقع مش آليات مش أجهزة تجسس. هذا جزء من المعركة يستمر. أقول لكم أيها الإخوة.
And America's just like, no, it's not expanding. It's not expanding. We're going to wrap this thing up any day now. Yeah, it'll be interesting just because now with even there's been more bombing just since he made that statement as well, like we saw today. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do respond. Excuse me. Very sleepy guy today. Anyway, what's next? What do we got next? I'll see what else is going on Al Jazeera here. How do you do, fellow humans? Okay, there's a couple things here. We already started thinking about the airstrikes. So there's this Al Jazeera piece about the whole like ICJ stuff that's been going on as well. Yeah, we talked about Starship Troopers earlier. We talked about the Verhoeven discourse earlier. It's scary. Also, it's President's Day. You haven't said anything about our beautiful founding fathers. Hey, I support the presidents of the United States of America, okay? I support the presidents of the United States of America.
I'm gonna eat a lot of peaches. I'm moving to the country.
Okay. We're saying it. Bring back powdered wigs and colored tights back the way our founding fathers would have wanted. And dueling as well. I wish the American ruling class could figure things out like with some good old-fashioned dueling. I think that would probably be bringing back that institution would probably be a good thing. Some tourist woman confronting a apartheid protest in Japan. There's a pro-Palestine rally going on in Tokyo. Not Japanese woman is absolutely losing her shit. Shit, sorry.
You can count on me and that good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Mask loves you. Thanks for 3 months tier 1. Thank you very much. What I don't get about, like, does she know she can leave? I know this is the one thing. It's like what I don't understand about these people. It's like they get you've got everything, you've got full backing of the West. Like you're doing your genocide. Everyone in the West supports you in the government anyway. You know what I mean? It's like what are you complaining about? It's like people have to like it though. They have to like it. They're not allowed to not like it. Even Japan supports them. It's like, what is your fucking problem exactly? She feels unsafe while she's screaming at other people. Yeah, you have to like it. That's it. That's the thing. It's not enough that we get the full backing of the entire West, the whole rules-based order. Did we get the funding, the military backing, the political backing, the diplomatic cover? They've been building these settlements for generations. Everyone knows the settlements are illegal. Everyone knows the settlements are a provocation. Everyone knows the settlements make a two-state solution impossible. They've been doing this for decades with no pushback, no consequences whatsoever. But you have to like it, though. You have to like it. It's not enough that we get everything we want. You have to like it as well. It's babies. Oh, so no consequences. Yeah, 4 dudes got sanctioned. Excuse me. Gaijin yells at Japanese for not falling in line with U.S. state propaganda. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Sorry if that was gross. Cracking the old wrists there. I'll just remind folks again, going on 3 hours into the stream, I'm sticking around for a bit longer today, so I am very tired though. But if you going on 3 hours, if you do support the show, folks, and you want to subscribe to this program and make people like in the video here, make them very upset, these kind of Zionists hate it when you support this program where I talk about all these issues. If you can, please subscribe to the show. It really helps me out. It helps me keep doing the show. It's the only way that I can do the show each and every day is if people subscribe to the programs. If you can subscribe, you can use your Amazon Prime account to subscribe totally free. You can gift subs. That's always very helpful
to talk
as
you
well.
Through all this.
Top Scruffy, thank you for the gifted sub. Zionists wail and gnash their teeth every time Rob's little number go up. They hate it. They hate that. I could really, Isaac Boy doesn't have the funds, could really use a gift sub. And remember, you can gift subscriptions, you can tip, there's all kinds of other ways you can support the show.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Mask loves you. Thanks for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you. In terms of our rankings here,
Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thanks so much for the gifted sub. Dr. Maggot just pulled even with Kijiji Genie and tied for number 2 in terms of this month's supporters behind our friend Burgles. That's what's going on there, though. So does anyone else want to subscribe to this program? Remember, if you gift 5 subs or above, that instantly makes you an elite member of the friendship triangle system. That's Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. You can become an elite member immediately, even if you're new to the community, with a small gift of 5 subs or above. Instantly puts you right up in that elite tier. Send me the link, Dr. Maggot. Moving to the country, gonna eat a lot of peaches. Moving to the country, gonna eat me a lot of peaches. Is the friendship triangle an inverted red one? I think the inverted red one is not so much about friendship. We do support that, though. Dr. Maggot, your wish is my command.
I'm in Hebron, and I've just been told about a wall. So this gate locks about 40 Palestinian families in, and it actually locks at certain times where they can't come out. And this actual side of the road that I'm walking on, Palestinians can't come. There's actually a bus stop over behind me, and the Palestinians aren't allowed to take it. I can take it. The Palestinians can't take it. It's complete racism at the heart. And
Spanish
if I walk
Pipe
over
Dream
here,
by John Prine, another good
the
song
bus
about
stop,
eating peaches in the
you'll
country.
see.
I remember that.
How you doing? You can see the heavily guarded stuff for the Palestinians. So I wonder who's protecting who. They all seem so worried about the Palestinians. There's nothing to worry about. It's terrible. Do you like the racism?
I like racism.
Yeah. What do you think about the Palestinians not being able to walk along here?
I don't know. I don't really think too much about it.
It's because you don't think about other people, or?
Of course I do.
And then how can you?
I don't
not
know
think
too much about
when
it.
they
I
can't
just
walk
live
here and
here.
they can't get the bus. They can't get the bus. They can't do anything. What do you think? Don't care.
You know, I have to read up about that.
You don't have to read up. You're living here, man.
I don't
They're
live
not
here.
allowed over here.
No, I
All
live
you're on the
in-
bus.
I live in America. I come here a few times.
American dollars paying, huh? Fantastic. Hey, can I ask you what you think of the racism here? What do you think? What do you
You know,
think?
some Australians, you know, we complain about Canada, we complain about Australia. When you see a fucking cool Australian, they go hard. They go very hard.
About the Palestinians not being able to walk here.
Do you
Don't
like the
care?
racism?
What?
You don't care? So
I
see
don't
the arrogance.
understand
See
English.
you see the arrogance about it. It's very arrogant that they're racist right to the heart. It's disgusting. You should be really ashamed of yourself. Say hi, huh? You're looking for peace? Just want to steal all of Palestine? You should be ashamed of yourselves.
That guy's cool. God damn.
You can count on
I'm in
me. You're
Hebron.
going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dynamic Nibbles, thanks for the 8 months tier 1. Thank you. Thank you to Dynamic Nibbles. Okay, let's look at this Al Jazeera piece. I still think the song is about asses and eating ass, etc. Well, that's the beautiful thing about art, though, is that it can be whatever you
can
want
count
it
on
to
me.
be.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Mega, thanks for another gifted sub. Moving up into second place on the leaderboard. We got a tight race. We got a tight race in the leaderboard this month. Very exciting stuff. I still think it's sexual. I think it's likely. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's a song about eating peaches, honestly. I think if you asked me, that's what I think it's about. I think it's about sitting down, opening up a can, and eating some delicious peaches. I read about the meaning of the song the other day. I always assumed it was just about pussy, but he was tripping balls and walked to a girl's house to tell her he liked her, but she wasn't home. So he sat in her yard under a tree and smashed a bunch of ripe peaches together that were on the ground and watching the ants go crazy over the juice. Okay. I think it's just about enjoying a nice, delicious fruit.
Israel is once again before the ICJ, this time for public hearings on the consequences of its occupation of Palestinian territories. It's more pressure while its military wages war on Gaza. But does Israel care about international justice?
No.
And what difference would a verdict make?
No,
This
they do not.
is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finnegan. The International Court of Justice is hearing submissions on Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories. It'll consider the legal consequences of Israel's ongoing breach of Palestinians' right to self-determination, as well as how Israeli policies impact not only the occupied areas, but also other countries and the United Nations. Opinion advisories by the UN's top court are non-binding, but carry significant moral and legal authority. So when a decision is announced, it'll have global implications. Dmitry Medvedenko sets the scene for us.
Israel's occupation of historical Palestine began more than 56 years ago. In June 1967, its six-day war against Egypt, Syria and Jordan killed about 16,000 Arabs. Israel took control of the West Bank, East Jerusalem and other areas, forcing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. And so began the longest occupation in modern history. The international community has never recognized Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem and the West Bank. Yet they, and the Gaza Strip, remain under Israeli military control today, under the pretext of security. The lives of millions of Palestinians are dictated by hundreds of military checkpoints, a color-coded permit system, and a separation wall. Israel has increasingly expanded Jewish-only settlements, creating a system that privileges Jews over non-Jews. 10% of Israel's population lives in these settlements, which are illegal under international law.
Please be seated. The sitting is
Not that anyone cares.
Now, the UN's top court is weighing in.
La Cour se réunit ce matin.
The court will meet to hear the oral statements and comments on the request for an advisory opinion submitted by the United Nations General Assembly to the court on the question of legal consequences arising from the policies and practices of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem.
During his presentation, Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad Malki said the only solution is to end Israel's occupation of Palestine unconditionally and immediately.
Yeah, that should be the
Ending
ceasefire.
Israel's impunity is a moral, political, and legal imperative. Successive Israeli governments have given the Palestinian people only three options: displacement, subjugation, or death. These are the choices: ethnic cleansing, apartheid, or genocide. But our people are here to stay.
The proceedings will see 52 countries and 3 international organizations deliver submissions over the course of a week. The case is separate from the one brought by South Africa, which accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
We'll go to our guests in just a moment, but first, let's speak to Riyad Malki, the Foreign Minister for the State of Palestine, who joins us now from The Hague. Minister, thank you for being with us on Al Jazeera. What do you expect from the ICJ when it publishes its opinion?
Well, we do expect a historic decision that will put an end to the Israeli impunity, allows for clear accountability, and really takes away from Israel that shield in terms of being accused of so many crimes that they have really committed over the years. Israel's prolonged occupation has to be recognized. Israeli colonialism and the system of apartheid has to be also recognized, and as such, we do expect a huge, if not historic, decision that will expose Israel's reality and forces so many countries that have been allying themselves with Israel to reconsider their relationship and their position towards Israel.
But as we were hearing in the report, the court's opinion is non-legally binding. Israel could ignore it, as it has done before. Are you hoping, at the very least, that the court's opinion will pressure?
They've literally
Israel's
said, like, we don't care
allies
about the
and
Hague.
international
We don't care about
community
the
in
internet.
general
Like,
to take
they've been open and
punitive
honest
steps
about the fact
against
that they do not give a shit.
Well, of course, you know, we
Famously,
know
the
how
good
Israel
guys often
behaves.
say things
Israel
like that.
does not show any readiness to engage with any decision that really comes from the court or outside the court. including the United Nations system. But, we do put a lot of emphasis, expectations on the reaction of Western world countries who have been always considered to be close friends of Israel. I do believe such decision should force, the review by such countries in terms of to what level
No, it's the farthest thing from surprising.
With Israel, when the moment that such decision has exposed Israeli policies and made it very clear that aligning themselves with Israel after that decision is really tantamount to being really accomplice to the crimes that Israel has been really committing against the Palestinian people. There are countries who are very much, they show concern, sensitivity towards decisions that, comes from the ICJ or the ICC. And as a result, we are putting a lot of expectation and hope that such countries, will consider their relationship with Israel after such decision. They will review such relationship and they will behave accordingly. That will make Israel, a pariah state, that Israel will be isolated from the rest of the countries. We will take away from them their most allies, and for us that's very important. That will create tremendous pressure. We are counting on the legal aspect and the ethical aspect of such a decision, and the political one more than anything else. And we believe that there are countries who cannot but abide by such decision, respect such decision, and based on it they have to go into a process of reviewing their relationship with such state called Israel.
So how, sir, will you make use of this case, this legal case, both politically and diplomatically?
Well, we are already engaging with so many countries. The fact that 53 countries are submitting their oral presentation is important. The fact that such decision, when it comes out, it has to go back to the General Assembly of the United Nations. The fact that there will be deliberations among all member states of the General Assembly, so no one could just ignore it, or no one could try to say we are not aware of it. They have to exactly deal with it, and probably we will think with all our friends and allies how we are going to benefit from such decision in a way. Maybe we'll go back to the General Assembly and prepare a General Assembly resolution to be voted in the General Assembly in order to adopt that decision and make it obligatory on all countries to deal with it.
Minister, many thanks indeed for being with us on Al Jazeera. That's Riyad Malki, Foreign Minister for the State of Palestine.
The kufiya over the suit look is a good look.
We're fortunate to have guests with deep and diverse backgrounds to share their insight on this historic moment for Palestinians. Professor Adi Imses is legal counsel for the State of Palestine. He's in The Hague. In Ramallah, in the occupied West Bank, is Noor Oudeh, a Palestinian political analyst. And in Doha, Mehran Kamrava, a professor of government at Georgetown University in Qatar and author of the book The Impossibility of Palestine, History, Geography and the Road Ahead. A warm welcome to you all. Professor Adi Imses, let's start with you. More than 50 countries and 3 organizations are presenting arguments at this hearing, the largest number of parties to participate in any single ICJ case since it was established. And yet the court will provide only a non-binding legal opinion later in the year. Why is that? And if the court's opinion isn't legally binding, then what's the point?
Well, thanks for having me, Adrian. Look, the principal judicial organ of the United Nations, which is the ICJ, exercises various types of jurisdiction, one of which is to give advisory opinions. These are formally not binding, you're correct, but at the same time...
Soy Prim, it looks like that preventative bombing campaign is going really well.
It is the highest world court that
de-escalatory bombing campaign.
Application of international law. What it says is tremendously
Seems like it's having the very strong effect
on the international plane. There are streams of cases of this court going back years that demonstrate even when you have an advisory opinion, states have abided by them. The rulings in an advisory opinion shape what is regarded as legitimate in the political realm. And so it is of vital import to have turned to the court for an advisory opinion on the illegality of Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory. Occupation is meant to be temporary. This one has lasted 56, now going on 57 years. It is accompanied by a regime of apartheid and racial discrimination. It is
fuck Michael Rappaport, man. Michael Rappaport is in Israel right now, like mocking the idea of that it's apartheid or whatever. Michael Rappaport, yet another one of the D-list celebs that have totally had their minds melted by this. And like, listen, I would never wish violence on anyone. I would never, especially on this platform, make any kind of comment like that. And that's why I really, really hope actor Michael Rappaport is not killed in Hamas bombing a rocket attack. I really, really hope that does not happen, because that would be really not good, as much as I dislike the guy. As much as I dislike the guy, I really hope nothing terrible happens to him like that.
Illegal. And we hope that when the court comes down with its opinion, ideally sometime in the summer, perhaps in July, they'll be saying the same thing. There will be consequences, political and legal, as a result.
I hate how I have to hate the actor that played Dick Ritchie in True Romance. You know, he's great. He's one of the all-time great casts, that movie, and he totally held his own. He's awesome in that movie. One of my favorite movies. I hate you have to learn things about these fucking actors. Especially dumb pieces of shit like Michael Rappaport, who, again, I hope nothing bad happens to the guy. I hope he lives a long life, and I hope he is not killed in a Hamas rocket attack.
Specifically, are the arguments that are being put before the court right now?
Palestine's case is rooted in three what we call peremptory norms of international law, derogation from which is not permitted under any circumstance. First, the inadmissibility of the acquisition of territory through threat or use of force. Israel has acquired territory de facto and de jure of the state of Palestine, and by its own admission, and over many years. Second, the violation of the Palestinian people's right to self-determination through its acquisition of territory, through its settlement, untrammeled, unrepentant, over the past 56 years. It has violated the Palestinian people's right to self-determination in the occupied Palestinian territory. And finally, third, the imposition on the Palestinian people,
they're building these illegal settlements, and this is what it looks like. You're building the fucking suburbs.
Wherever they may be, of a regime of racial discrimination.
This is what this whole thing is for, so you can build the fucking suburbs.
Derogation from which is not permitted.
You can move to the Middle East and live in the goddamn suburbs.
How can it be that the regime that gives
in these
rise
illegal
to
settlements?
These norms,
What are you
from which is
fucking
not
doing?
permitted, itself be lawful? No, we argue that the regime, that is Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory, is in and of itself an internationally wrongful act, an illegality that can only be ended immediately, unconditionally, and forthwith.
Noor Odeh, if Israel and its allies ignore the court's opinion when it is delivered, as they have done before, what does that say about the court's credibility and about international law?
Well, it would mean that this whole system that the world relies on to function really would no longer really be relevant or very much intact. And Palestine has long challenged this system because of this Israeli exceptionalism, because Israel has always enjoyed the protection and the complicity of very powerful allies. It has really undermined everything that the international system, the international law and what it stands for. It has really made all of that really come into question, more so now than we've ever seen, especially with the unfolding war and the unfolding genocide in Gaza. It will be very difficult, I would say, for Israel's allies to ignore it. Perhaps the United States will be the last to join the the march, but I think it'll be very difficult for many European countries to break with precedent, to break with their practice of upholding ICJ rulings, of respecting those rulings, of at least not appearing to be in contradiction with them. And in that sense, I think we might have a South Africa moment at our hand, whereby the same countries that supported apartheid had to, in the end, join the overwhelming majority of the world that said this is an illegal, immoral regime and it has to be dismantled, it has to come to an end.
Mehran Kamrava, do you agree with that? How might the court's opinion impact Israel's staunchest allies? Israel may be able to ignore the court's opinion, but politically, could the US afford to do so?
It'll be very difficult for the US to ignore the ICJ's ruling. But I think it's important to keep in mind that Israel views itself as an exceptional state. And Israel's closest allies, the United States and many European states, agree with that assessment, that Israel is an
That's true,
exceptional
Space Robo
state,
Dragon.
and therefore it can ignore United Nations resolutions,
relocate
it can ignore
people whose
and
homes have
break
been destroyed.
international law and get away with it. The fact that the United States has repeatedly ignored UN Security Council resolutions, the fact that the European Union is deafeningly silent on the massacre of now more than 29,000 Palestinians, tells us that there's this assumption that Israel is somehow different, that international norms, international law don't necessarily apply to it. I completely agree with the other guests that this will increase the pressure on Israel's allies, but whether or not we will see some sort of compliance with this, I think remains to be seen.
Mehran, how valid is Washington's argument, and indeed Israel's, in its written submission to the court, that this case is counterproductive in that it could, quote, distract the parties from the objective of a negotiated two-state solution, that weaponizing the UN system to delegitimize and criminalize Israel.
And if there is a
not going to
two-state
lead to
solution, that's what's
peace?
going to happen to those settlements. That's exactly why,
I think only
as
the
Israel's
Israelis
repeatedly
and the
said, there's not
Americans
going to be
at
a
this
two-state
point
solution.
really
They're very
believe in
honest
the
about that.
old two-state solution. We've been talking about the two-state solution for a number of decades now, as we witnessed the progressive dismantling of Palestine, the increasing depopulation of Palestinian territories, the lack of viability of a Palestinian state in terms of territorial contiguity, the spread of settlements, all under the auspices of the so-called peace process. And I think it's time that we reframe our frame of reference, rethink our frame of reference, and go to the ICJ, for example, or think about other ways of ending Israeli occupation or bringing to some sort of meaningful reconciliation Israelis and Palestinians, rather than this two-state solution that the Americans and the Israelis have been talking about as they continuously.
And again, Israel's very clear now. There's no two-state
Professor
solution.
Imsis, I saw you nodding there.
They're very, very clear about this.
Absolutely. The point made about what I call the negotiations condition, I've written a great deal about this, and the case that we brought is basically fashioned around this idea. Because the norms upon which the case is based, these peremptory norms, do not allow of any derogation at any moment in time, violation of the principle against territorial conquest, the violation of the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, the violation of the principle that you may not impose a regime of racial discrimination and apartheid. Because these principles are non-derogable under international law, the regime itself is unlawful. And if the regime itself is existentially connected to these violations, its end cannot be made subject to negotiation. So if your viewers want a takeaway from this case, once the court, or if the court pronounces that the occupation is unlawful, under international law, that would bind the United Nations, that would bind every state on planet Earth, the end of that occupation may not be held subject or made contingent on negotiation. And that matters, as we know, because negotiations, or this negotiations condition, has been held out in front of the beleaguered Palestinian people for 30 years now, including by states, third states, ostensibly, who support the international rule of law, but continually tell the Palestinian people that the only way they can secure their release from bondage of Israel and its barbaric occupation, now going over a half century, is to negotiate with the occupying power. That is manifestly absurd. And based on the UN record, Israel's actions based on the UN record demonstrate that it doesn't operate, nor has it ever operated in good faith, either in the occupied Palestinian territory or at the proverbial negotiations table. And so it is vital that the court make a pronouncement on the illegality of Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory, one consequence of which will vitiate, negate the cop-out response of third states that Palestine and the beleaguered people of Palestine need to negotiate their freedom. Their freedom is unnegotiable. Their right to self-determination equally so. And that's what the International Court of Justice, we hope, will make a pronouncement on in the summer.
Noah, forgive me for asking a personal question, but you grew up under occupation. I mean, many people watching this program will have no idea what it's like to grow up, to live under occupation. Can you tell us something of your experience and the way in which Israel's occupation has changed over the years, or has impacted the lives of Palestinians over the years?
Well, this is an important question, and I'm happy to answer it. I actually grew up in forced exile, like many Palestine refugees. And my initial childhood experience of occupation was the fact that I was denied entry into my homeland. I was denied my own identity. And it wasn't until well after my teenage years that it was easier to present myself as Palestinian without having to pick a fight with the people on the other side of the conversation to prove that Palestine actually existed. And as a young adult, when I was finally allowed into Palestine, living under occupation means that Israel decides where you can live, how you can live, and where you can move. It decides the routine you have in your day, in your week, about your grocery shopping, because your grocer and your vegetable store only has goods when the Israeli crossings inside the West Bank operate. So you operate on the Israeli calendar, not the Palestinian one. Israel decides who and how you can get married. Because if you happen to have a West Bank ID and you fall in love with someone from Jerusalem, you'll have a very hard time getting married because your spouse
As an indigenous person from the Americans, I treat the United States and Canada as being under occupation. Yeah, absolutely.
If you
not only indigenous people, but I think like a lot of racialized people are under kind of a military
your only
occupation.
Option really is to move to Gaza, because there's no way that they can move to the West Bank, which is my lived experience. So everything, every detail of life, it really is quite amazing when you think about it, even for me as a Palestinian, in just how
and I would fully support
Israel
oppressed and colonized people in the United States and Canada engaging in armed struggle
Palestinians survive that is
against their occupiers and colonizers. I would support that.
That much of their life is beyond their control, but what is under their control is staying home, is being in their homeland, and is looking forward and is never losing hope. I think that is the one thing that all Palestinians, regardless of geography,
yeah, absolutely, Dan. It's fucking gross.
Tight, so I need a reasonably brief answer, if you can give me one here. In what ways has occupation damaged or weakened Palestinian institutions over time?
In every way imaginable, because it has degraded their standing. Palestinian security officers can only operate if they're allowed to by the occupier. They cannot provide protection from Israeli settler attacks, for example. They cannot do their job as required by law, as required by the social contract. All of the institutions can only operate within the confines of Israeli permission. So in many ways, these institutions have a fight every day that they operate, and more with this Israeli government, with the way it operates and with its proclaimed goals, it becomes impossible to operate without being completely subservient. And that is why I think this case is so important, because you can't pick on one practice per se. You can't just say these practices are illegal, they're counterproductive. The whole regime in its entirety makes living while Palestinian a fight every single day, and it is unbearable, it is not sustainable, and it simply is incompatible with anything resembling peace and stability, not just for Palestinians, but for everybody in this region.
Professor Kamrava, as we said at the beginning of the program, this case is separate from South Africa's genocide case, which the ICJ is also considering, but there's bound to be a measure of overlap between the two cases, isn't there?
Absolutely, and this will only ratchet up pressure on Israel and its allies, those who are complicit in the ongoing ethnic cleansing, the Americans and the Europeans. But again, I think it's important to keep in mind that as we speak, as these cases unfold, there is an absolute bloodbath going on in Gaza, and Israel's onslaught on the Palestinians has been unrelenting. And therefore, there's an absolute need for a very quick ceasefire in the immediate future. We cannot afford to wait until the summer when the judgment of the ICJ is out.
Mehran Kamrava, Professor Imsis was talking there about the ongoing war in Gaza, of course, but where South Africa's genocide complaint to the court centres solely on Gaza, this case is also looking at the occupied West Bank, isn't it?
Yes, it is. As was just said by the good professor, the situation in Gaza, horrible, unprecedented though it is a symptom of a larger problem. And one of those problems, the root causes of the problem, is the illegal occupation, but not just that. It's the regime of apartheid and racial discrimination imposed on the Palestinian people as a whole since 1948, wherever they are. And so the focus of this case is strategic. It's about looking at the regime, as Noor had mentioned earlier, and the legality of the regime imposed by Israel, the occupying power, on the Palestinian people, primarily in the occupied Palestinian territory, though not exclusive to that. Now, there's a difference between the two cases. One is an advisory opinion case and therefore will be dispensed by the court relatively quickly. As I said, we anticipate an order of the court, or rather an opinion of the court, to be issued by summer. But the other case is a contentious case, a dispute between two states, South Africa and Israel. And that will take some years to deal with the merits of the claim being made, that is, whether Israel is violating its obligations under the Genocide Convention. What we do know in that case is, based on the order given by the court on the 26th of January, just a few weeks back, that the court is of the view that it is plausible that Israel is committing genocide under the Genocide Convention against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. And so time is of the essence. Law is one thing, and we're doing our best to use it and utilize it to save people. But what we need is a ceasefire, and that's a political matter, and we need to press for that globally.
There, I'm afraid we must end it. We're out of time. Many thanks indeed to all of our guests today, Riyad Malki, Adi Imsis, Noor Ode, and Mehran Kamrava. As always, thank you for watching. You can see the programme again at any time by going to the website, which you'll find at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And, of course, you can join the conversation on X, our handle there, at AJ Inside Story, from me, Adrian Finnegan, and the team here.
Well, good segment. You know, not sure it was telling us anything we didn't really know already, but it was a good jumping off point for some discussion as well. I should probably get going soon, folks. It is 4 o'clock. Here's Michael Rappaport literally getting his palate cleansed. I used to like him doing the anti-Trump shtick as well. I thought his anti-Trump bit was quite funny. But unfortunately, he supports genocide, so.
Oh, I gotta see this.
You know, this whole crap with this cancel culture and the Shut up! Shit! Shut the fuck up! Nobody wants to hear it. Fucker. You've been talking all fucking week. You don't care what you have to say. Just stop talking.
You got me right in my fucking head, asshole.
Stop.
Damn it.
All right, we gotta watch it again.
You know, this whole crap with this cancel culture and the...
Shut up!
And they say that a hero will save us. We're not gonna stand here and wait. Too good to be real? I don't know. I want to believe. I want to believe that it's real. Same energy of that one guy getting punched. You mean the Richard Spencer incident? That was classic as well. Showing, I don't respect them to learn their names. They all look the same. I remember that was a surreal time. First of all, that whole clip too. He's talking about his fucking pin, his Pepe pin, and he gets decked. I remember like after Trump was elected, to all the serious like news pieces about these guys, the dapper white nationalists. What the fuck? That was such a strange, fucked up time. I'm not going to stick around too much later, friends. I'm going to get going soon, I think. 3 hours and 18 minutes into this thing. I'm really tired. I was up last night, too much gaming, and I just didn't sleep enough, so I've been yawning and tired all day. But is that going to prevent me from gaming more tonight and playing Helldivers again tonight? No, it is not. No, it is not. I'm absolutely going to play again. And in fact, even though I'm going to be ending the stream as well, I would never goon, Max. Never. Even though I'm going to be ending the stream soon, I will be back in a bit. I'm going to rest for a little while. And I'm gonna eat supper and stuff, and then I'm gonna be streaming again later. We're gonna do some Helldiving later. So Goon and Game have 4 letters. That's true. That is very true. So if you can, folks, please subscribe. It's one final plea to please subscribe to this program. If you can, terminal case of the 4 p.m. snoozies. I may take a little nap, actually. I may take a little nap, have something to eat, and then get back on. Reinforce our boys in the automaton war. So if you can, please subscribe to the show, folks. As you know, I must make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up each and every day that I do this. It's the only way that I'm able to continue doing this program every day is if the little number at the bottom of the screen goes up. It's just, I don't like it any more than you do, but that's just the way it goes. So if you like this program, if you like tuning into this show every day, it is a lot of work to do this show, to host this show every single day. Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, I can't even say the names of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3-4 hours a day. It's tiring. It's a lot of work. So if you do enjoy the show, if you like tuning in, if you like being part of the community, please subscribe if you can. Help me make the little number go up if you can. Every little bit helps. I appreciate it a lot. And again, it's the only way that I am able to continue doing this show. So if you can, please subscribe. You can also gift subs. You can trigger very cool alerts if you gift 5 subs or even 10 subs, or even the very, very cool and generous 20 sub gifters can trigger a very, very elite and exclusive alert. So if you can do that, it would be very helpful, and I would appreciate it a whole lot. I think I had something else I was going to say and I lost it. It's gone. It's gone. I did have a question for you, chat. And I'm asking this question, I think, knowing what the answer is going to be. Here is the question. Should I order something to eat tonight? Like, I could make some instant noodles with dumplings, and I could take the time, not even that huge amount of time, to make myself some noodles, but I'm wondering if I should get a little treat. Thanks, Lodane. I was actually considering ordering shawarma. I actually was, Joe. I was going to order one of the Turkish sandwiches from the spot down the street from me. And I'm in pain right now. I've got some pain in my foot today. I think partially related to the climate, the temperature dropping. I'm in pain, so I can't really walk around. You're a busy father figure to many. You should order. I do, Lioness. I do know your stance on little treats. I do. And I did make, again, like I said, I made myself lunch and dinner yesterday. I didn't order anything. I'm really considering getting one of these Turkish sandwiches. They're really good. They're some of the best sandwiches that you can get around here or anywhere, frankly. They're really, really good. You know what else I want to try? Can someone tell me? Kunefe. Is kunefe any good? It's like a cheesy syrup pasta thing. I've never had it before, but it seems very interesting. I think you've already convinced yourself. Oh, I was really just looking for you to validate me, honestly, up the Reds. I already knew exactly what I was going to do. Maybe I should get some of that with my sandwich. I'm wondering if I should just get a sandwich and potatoes or something, or if I should get some kunefe. If you get Turkish food, you must watch this to close TRRS today.
I am more white than you. You look gypsy. I am blonde hair. Blonde hair I have. You gypsy.
That means that someone fucked your mother that is Turkish, but your father is not. Oh. Your mother is a whore and she got fucked from someone. You are weak sperm. You are weak sperm. This is the strong sperm. This is the Greek god. Okay, Greek god.
If you have Greek god, you would have win, but you lose.
Lose where? Lose where?
You lose. Why is Hagia Sophia this? Not.
Good. Classic. Anyway, folks, still a measly 16 subs ago to get subs to go. I can't even talk. I'm too tired. A measly 16 subs to go to get to the goal. And only 31 subs to sing a little song.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Risk Inverse, I really appreciate the support lately. And I've already said thank you many times, but Risk Inverse gave me the tip that allowed me to get Helldivers, which is now already one of my all-time favorite video games. Risk Inverse, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So only 15 subs to go and only 30 subs to get me to sing a little song. And even though I'm tired, I would still sing the song, even though I don't want to and I don't feel like it. Even though I don't want to. Just 30 measly subs could do it. I'm being so greedy. Like, not even, I'm pushing for going beyond the sub goal, even though just that has been painful enough. Me ordering lunch. Just a measly 16 subs to go. That's right.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Anonymous gifter. Anon, thank you for the gifted sub. I really appreciate that. But seriously, kunafa slaps. I'm thinking about getting it. I might just get a sandwich and potatoes or something, but I'm strongly considering the kunafa. Or kunefe. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm strongly considering it. We got people saying to get it. Do I just go crazy today? But Lodine, I like embarrassing myself. I like embarrassing myself. It's fun. It's fun for me to do that. Go sicko mode. Well, perhaps I will. In any case, folks, I will be back in a couple hours to reinforce our boys out in the automaton war. So I'm just taking a little break. I'm going to take a little break, having a little rest, and I'll be back doing something. I'm really a pro gamer now. We've joked about it before. But now it's real. Now I'm an actual real gamer, professional gamer. But I really am immersed and thinking about this game way more than I have for a video game in a long time. Finally, just gaming streams only. It must be nice to actually make a living from that. That must be cool. I can't deny it. It must be kind of neat. Still just 1 minute away, folks. Still only 1 minute. It's still possible to get 29 more subs in the next minute. And then I would owe you a song. I would owe you a song. For a measly 29 subs. Unbelievable. The kind of value the kind of value you can get on this kind of show. You can get a 40-year-old man to sing little songs. Where else can you do that? Where else can you do that on this platform? I love that, Diego, the whole elevated into sapience by the USSR thing. That's just fantastic. That's how you talk to these like former USSR republics. I think that's how you have to deal with some of these folks. So should be no issue to get 29 more subs in the next 7 seconds. Right? Should be no problem. I still believe that we can do it.